music with my bro. Willing to dig it, yes or no? Here we go on with the show, the Bro Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 15 of the Hear Me Out Bro Podcast. My name is Clark. I'd like to introduce my brother, Eric.
Hey, everybody.
If you would like to listen to the songs along with the podcast, you can find our YouTube channel by searching for @HMOBP, and all of our weekly playlists are updated there. You can find them. If you have any questions or feedback for us, you can email us at hearmeoutbropodcast@gmail.com. And if you like what you hear, we would appreciate you telling friends that listen to podcasts or leave us a review. You can also leave a comment on the YouTube playlists for the songs and tell them that the Hear Me Out Bro podcast brought you there. Spread the word to other music nerds.
Before we jump into this episode, I just want to give a prog warning. If there's any of you listeners that are sensitive, if your ears are sensitive to prog, as you're going through the playlist, just be forewarned. There will be prog.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And if you can make it through the prog, I added a palate cleanser immediately following the prog because, I'm looking out for little brothers everywhere.
What happens if they don't make it through the prog?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Anyways,
you'll miss out on seeing one of the handsomest men who's ever come out of England.
If you don't make it through this episode, you won't be around to find out who my favorite prog bass players are next week. If you do make it all the way to the keyboard episode, congratulations. There will be more prog there as well.
Yeah, sorry folks. I don't think I can come up with enough palate cleanser keyboardists to come up against the army of proggy ivory ticklers.
And if Clark doesn't make it through this episode, then this may be our last episode.
I think I can make it through this
one.
I think I'll make it through the bass player one. But yeah, episode 17, I might have to follow some advice that's later on in the playlist.
It won't be all prog.
I know.
Okay.
It's like my episodes aren't going to be all ABBA until the all ABBA episode.
I will have a prog episode, but we'll hang on to that one for a while.
It's all right.
I'll keep that in the junk drawer.
I'll have a folk metal episode. Do accordions count as keyboards? Or accordions like a separate thing? They have a keyboard.
They're their own thing.
Their own beast. Okay. Okay. They're a chimera. Like it might have the head of a lion, but it's not a lion.
They might be like in the woodwind family.
Oh, because they do have a reed. Yeah, you're right.
Somebody keeps texting me. Well, and they're also, powered by wind.
Yeah.
But like the old organs back in the Middle Ages, they were powered by bellows, and there was pump organs around the turn of the century. And a hurdy-gurdy is also, I think the crank kind of pushes wind through.
The crank, I don't think it does.
Strings.
The crank moves like a rotating pad kind of thing, like a rosin thing.
So it's like a violin kind of thing.
Yeah, but then it does have keys. Maybe it does have like a woodwind thing.
I don't know.
Because it has keys like I think it has 4 keys on it that are kind of like trumpet keys, kind of. They must change some sort of resonating chamber or valve. I don't know.
Maybe it's like a bowed auto harp or something.
Maybe.
We'll have to research it more. Maybe have a hurdy-gurdy episode.
Yeah.
Hurdy-gurdy.
Hurdy-gurdy. One thing I do know is that two things I know. One good, one bad. The name hurdy-gurdy means rump shaker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because it's like when you dance to hurdy-gurdy, you're like sinfully move your loins around.
Yeah, Jimmy Page played on hurdy-gurdy, man.
Yeah, I know.
Tristan's dad used to be Donovan's guitar tech.
Whoa.
Larry Natalini was Donovan's like roadie / guitar tech guy.
Oh, man. Do you know Metal School, the YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Was it last week? I didn't get a chance to watch it, and I forgot about it until just now. But he did one about Y&T.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, that guy's videos are cool.
Yeah, I've been watching too much Tri-Balls lately. Those things are so fun.
I like how they just call all bread roti.
Yeah. There's a bunch of, well, that's probably why you watched them, is there's a bunch of...
Hyalung. Hyalung, yeah. Maybe that's how I came across them. I'm not sure. Yeah, I also watched the Tri channel, which is...
Oh, yeah.
The same thing, but Irish people.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty entertaining.
All right. Should we...
Yeah.
Should we jump into the list?
We could have a React channel to YouTube React channels.
Yeah, we can make a separate episode of all our excerpts.
I came across this channel called The Feral Historian.
Uh-huh.
And he does mostly like book reviews, like compares like the book to the movie or TV show adaptation. And then sometimes he'll like compare and contrast to similar intellectual properties.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty cool. And he's like, he used to live in Oregon. Now I think he lives in like Eastern Washington or something. But he's like this kind of cranky dude. And like most of his videos are just like him sitting on this rock in the wilderness, like talking about stuff. It's pretty funny. But he just did one about Dice the Fire.
Oh, cool.
So I'm like super, super excited. I'm hoping he'll do more.
Did he like him?
Yeah. He was like, yeah, some people told me to read it like a while ago, and he never did. And like he has a whole series on one of SM Sterling's other series that I wasn't familiar with, so I'm gonna have to like check all of those out. But so yeah, he talks all about it, and like then he like gets to the end of the video and he's like, it took me years to start reading this series, and I don't know why.
Speaking of Oregon authors, David teaches at the high school that Frank Herbert went to.
Well, nice.
Yeah. He's like one of their famous alumni.
Nice.
Okay. Okay. I think it's time to jump in. All right. So, yeah, we're picking out our favorite drummers. And kind of last week, how some of the picks were like a less is more type guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know there's less is more drummers out there, like Charlie Watts, the Rolling Stones.
Oh, yeah.
People like that. Ringo Starr is kind of in between. He's a bit of a less is more, but he's also does some pretty tricky stuff, being a lefty and being really original and probably taking drugs along with the rest of them.
I've got a lefty on my list.
Oh, cool. Mostly these are just the drummers that really stand out to me and kind of, I don't know, float my boat or whatever terminology you want to use.
Yeah.
And I kind of did it chronologically.
Okay.
So I'm starting off with, this is the drummer I wish I could play the most like. because it's so like elusive and like fleeting and hard to copy. Because you just got to kind of like let go of everything. But you have to be really talented to just keep it moving. So this is Keith Moon with The Who. And this is Who Are You?
Oh, man.
What a great band.
Totally.
Man, Keith Moon was amazing.
Yeah, I always knew he was an animal, and I know he's hamming it up for the camera. It's like he probably was a lot like that even when the camera was off.
Oh no, he was like that all the time. On stage and off stage.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of animal, he's probably the one that the Muppet was modeled after.
Right.
Yeah, he's just so free, like he's not like he has like kind of parts, but he's just like feeling it, Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the drumming equivalent of like a dog shaking water off.
Yeah.
It doesn't come like, it's not like, oh, it's biceps and triceps. It's like coming off his spine. Yeah. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder like how their songs work so well, because he's just totally free flowing, but their songs always like are hard hitting too,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's kind of like magic.
Yeah, they don't sound improvisational. Yeah,
and I'm sure he like, I don't know, maybe he played the same thing twice on some songs. He had parts and beats and stuff, but he's just always doing fills and like there was a period where he didn't even have hi-hats. He would just play like crash cymbals and ride cymbals, and because he'd play double bass, but he didn't know what to do with his other foot. So you just, do double bass and not even bother with hi-hats. And he also used, like most people have, their toms go from a smaller tom to progressively bigger toms.
Right.
He had a bunch of toms, but they were all kind of the same size. They were just tuned differently.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think they're all like kind of 14-inch drums or something like that. He might have had a few different sizes, but he had a bunch that were the same size, just tuned differently.
Yeah, I think one of my picks does the same thing.
Yeah. But yeah, and just because of the way he just plays with like just passion and fire and just feels the music, like that's kind of how I wish I could play more. I can play beats and I can do certain fills if I really work them out, but to just be able to flow like that would be awesome.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So that's why he's one of my favorite picks. I love that video. He's just totally goofing it up, and they have his headphones like gaff taped to his head so they won't fall off. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, is that a headband or something? And then I saw the tape on Roger Daltrey's headphones too, and I was like, nope, that's just gaffer tape.
It's to keep it there.
Yeah.
So it won't fly off. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's been books written on that guy, but yeah, he was more than just like a larger than life character. He was just an amazing musician.
Totally.
So yeah, like sometimes people say, oh, well, drummers aren't really musicians. It's like, well, the good ones are.
Yeah, bull crap.
Yeah. But I mean, that's something that people say sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean,
they're wrong.
Keith Moon is totally musical.
Yeah. It's like, and like, other than vocals, like percussion has to be, like the oldest instrument.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Like, animals do it. Like gorillas pound on their chest and like,
yeah.
Animals beat on logs and stuff. Like percussion is like the earliest, has to be.
Yeah. And I'm sure he was like on the spectrum, Like,
Well, it's a spectrum. We're all on the spectrum.
Yeah. But he was he was diagnosable, I think. Like,
Okay.
I don't know if we knew then like what we know now.
Right.
Like maybe they would have kept him from drinking and doing drugs so much or something, or
self-medicating.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah,
Who knows?
But even if he had been diagnosed with something, it's like the drugs available at the time probably would have sapped a lot of his creativity too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah, because they did have stuff available back then, but it's a little heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Back then, so he did whatever it was, he did it his way. So.
Yep, and remains a legend.
Yeah, the drummer I wish I could play most like, and up there with my favorite drummers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this next drummer came up a lot when we were talking about some of the drumming styles that were happening in the Muggs episode.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Mitch Mitchell with the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And this is Fire.
Man, such a great song.
Yeah, the song title of Fire like matches his drumming that he's doing. It's just so fiery.
Yeah. Yeah, I love those rolling fills. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's like a rhythm it's like a train that just keeps rolling.
Mm-hmm.
He was like Jimi Hendrix could just totally take it out to the stratosphere, and Mitch Mitchell was like the perfect foil to keep up with him.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever he went, like Mitch Mitchell could keep up.
Nice.
And like you couldn't say that for a lot of other drummers.
Right. So. Yeah, one of my picks kind of comes from that school a little bit.
Yeah, and you can hear. Well, I know Ginger Baker was a jazzer when he started out.
Yeah.
And like a lot of these guys, when they were growing up, they didn't have other rock drummers to listen to. They're listening to Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa and Max Roach and Elvin Jones and Art Blakey. So like some drummers that really comes across, that like they grew up listening to that stuff. I think it's pretty evident in Mitch Mitchell's drumming style.
Yeah, and you pretty much aimed all of my honorable mentions right there.
Yeah. I mean, I love all those guys. It's just when I want to listen to jazz, I'll listen to jazz. But I don't know. This is kind of a rock music podcast, I guess, or it's more my favorite, the rock stuff.
Yeah.
Like I love jazz when I'm in traffic and like trying to make time driving through San Francisco or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll put it on the jazz station. It's just like bebop, bebop, bebop. It's like got a bunch of like caffeine and nicotine, and you're like making all the right lane changes and
syncopation.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, well, I do have a jazz drummer on here.
So. Nice. So yeah, Mitch Mitchell, an incredible talent.
Yeah. Definitely.
Also, he was a child actor.
Really?
Yeah. He was a child actor on some British melodrama TV show or something when he was a little kid.
Crazy.
Yeah, just totally unrelated to his drumming.
Or was it?
Well, maybe not.
Mummy. Mummy, can I go in the garden and play my drums?
Mummy, can I Please, Mommy, can I go upstairs for a bit of rat-a-tat-tat? Yeah, well, like Buddy Rich was like the boy wonder drummer, like on vaudeville.
Whoa.
Like since he was like 4 years old or something.
Nice.
He was like on vaudeville is like this amazing phenom drum talent. And like, I mean, everybody acknowledges he was pretty much the best.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe there is something to starting out young. I think almost every drummer started out like on their mom's pots and pans.
Right.
And like went from there.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that really love it. Okay. I got another pick. There's drummers that have technical ability. There's drummers that can play super complicated stuff. There's drummers that can play really fast. This drummer, he could do all that, but he also had this like muscle and groove that nobody else compares to. And in my book, it makes him probably the best drummer in the world, just because like when you hit something, when you're pounding on something, you want it to have that muscle and that groove and that thunder. And like nobody has the thunder like John Bonham. And, you know, Led Zeppelin was an amazing band, great songs, great parts, just groundbreaking, one of the best bands ever. But like, if you listen to just John Bonham, it's like so satisfying just on its own.
Yeah.
And then you put Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones and Robert Plant on top of that, like,
right,
that primordial seabed of like slate that is just, yeah, just thunderous. So this is John Bonham with Led Zeppelin, and the song is Full in the Rain.
That's such a great song.
Yeah, man, just that groove. It's just like a freight train.
No, that's a shuffle. Is it the Purdy shuffle?
Yeah, it's a halftime shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
Bernard Purdy calls it the Purdy shuffle.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of is the Purdy shuffle, but yeah, other people did it. Maybe he was the first to do it, but who knows? It's a drum beat. It's a halftime shuffle.
Okay.
Like a shuffle has like kind of a lope to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like a camshaft, or like you picture like an egg rolling down a hill.
Right.
Like it kind of, instead of being like boink, 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 it's like,
yeah, it kind of speeds up and slows down.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the halftime shuffle is like boom, boom, tat, boom, boom, tat. But it's got like faster on the hi-hats, but yeah, it just has a halftime pulse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
such a cool sound.
Yeah, Bernard Purdy did it on a couple Steely Dan songs, like Home at Last and Babylon Sisters. Cool. And Jeff Porcaro did a halftime shuffle on Rosanna.
Yep.
So that one's kind of called the Rosanna Shuffle. They're all halftime shuffles, but like each one of them are famous. But out of all the halftime shuffles, like to me, like John Bonham's is the best, because his groove was just so powerful.
Yeah.
Just so thick. And have you listened to the isolated drum track of that Full in the Rain? They like tune the compressors in, so it just totally pumps, like this pumping, throbbing halftime shuffle. And I also love the way John Bonham just hit the drums. Like, yeah, because when you're playing drums, you're hitting the drums. You're hitting the bass drum, you're hitting the other drums. But each hit in like isolation can either be soft or hard or just a ghost note. But like every time John Bonham's drumstick hit the drum, it was perfect.
Yeah.
And his foot on the bass drum every time is perfect. Yeah, and I love the way those big his drums are really like big band sized drums.
Mm-hmm.
Like the drums in like the 30s and 40s were bigger. And then like when bebop came along and it got more jazz and less big band, they went to smaller drums because they didn't have to keep up with a whole big band.
Right.
And they even got really small, like kits nowadays that are called a bop kit will have like an 18-inch or 16-inch bass drum, but John Bonham's bass drum was a 26-inch bass drum.
Mm-hmm.
And like, well, if you look right behind me there, like those are Bonham sizes, 26-inch bass drum, 14 by 10 rack tom, 16 by 16 floor tom, and an 18 by 18 floor tom. So there's 2 floor toms. That's basically like the Gene Krupa setup.
Mm-hmm.
So big band drums. And the big drums you tune up a little higher. And John Bonham, like his sounds thunderous. So you think, oh, his drums are tuned down low. They're actually just big drums tuned up high.
Okay.
And like your standard drum set size is going to be a 22-inch bass drum diameter and a 13-inch rack tom and a 16-inch floor tom. So like his kit was just like super sized. And yeah, so like John Bonham, I can kind of understand what he does. Like, you know, I'd love to play like Keith Moon, just be free and flowing like that.
Right.
When I do play, I do kind of play like John Bonham because I love to just like hit the drums hard and heavy.
Right.
So yeah, so like that's why my Zepp kit is set up right now. Just because like, yeah. But a lot of other people use big drums too. Like another drummer I really like, we were talking about Fleetwood Mac last week. Like I really like the way Mick Fleetwood plays drums.
Yeah.
And on all that Fleetwood Mac stuff, he was also playing a big 26-inch Ludwig kick drum,
Mm-hmm.
which you wouldn't think because it's like his drums are all dead sounding and stuff. You wouldn't think he's playing like the same drum sizes that John Bonham did on like Rumors and stuff.
Right.
Kind of interesting, but they're all damped and stuffed with pillows and stuff. But yeah, I don't know anything else about John Bonham.
Well, Mick Fleetwood was the only other person on my honorable mention list.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have another story about John Bonham's gear, but I believe
you'll get
you
another opportunity.
Yeah, that relates to my pick that's after your next pick, so I'll just save it for that.
Okay. Yeah, just the fact that it's like he wasn't just a like metronomic, like he had so much soul too. Like
yeah. I think he's
kind of like he has all like the power and animalistic freedom that Keith Moon had, but then like with Neil Peart-esque precision, like.
Oh yeah, and like swinging 2 of Thor's hammers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, actually I think there's a video out there like Rick Beato or somebody. They took an isolated drum track of John Bonham's and then like quantized it to the grid.
Uh-huh.
So like most music now, it'll have a click track.
Right.
And they record, you'll hear like a cowbell or like a tick, 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 tock, tick, 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 tock in your headphones. And so you're like perfectly on the grid. So when they're working on the computer and editing, they can just kind of snap everything and clean it up. Yeah, that's why music sounds just so soulless and sterile these days. But yeah, he took a John Bonham isolated drum track and quantized it to the grid. And it just it still had great tone and stuff, but it totally lost its feel. Like it's
really?
It's
okay.
like pulse. Yeah, it totally lost like that human pulse to it.
Huh.
So that's on YouTube. So it's worth checking out if you want to hear what John Bonham would sound like today, quantized to a Pro Tools click track.
Oh, yikes. Yeah, maybe I don't want to hear that.
It's interesting.
Yeah, what episode was I talking about the what are they, like the audiograms or audiographs or whatever?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I don't know if that made it into the
did that get edited out
or not? I think so. Yeah, about like maybe it was in there about like all the sounds of nature and things.
Yeah, the guy playing along with the frogs.
Yeah.
Playing flute along with frogs. Yeah, it's like that's interesting. That like if it's too precise, it sounds wrong.
Yeah. It sounds less human.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Also that guitar solo in there. That's the MXR Blue Box. You had asked about the certain guitar tone in one of the Muggs songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the MXR Blue Box there. It's like it's a fuzz box, but it also has a subharmonic octave. Actually, it's 2 octaves down below the note you're playing that gets synthesized. So probably most famous from that song there, Fool in the Rain guitar solo. Really cool sound.
Yeah. It's like, it's not fuzzy, it's buzzy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's got that subby kind of weight underneath it. Yeah, because like Jimi Hendrix used an Octavia, which is an octave up fuzz, and a lot of fuzzes will generate that octave up, but it's like those sub like octave downs sound really cool.
Yeah. Well, we'll have plenty of time to think of anything that we may have forgotten about John Bonham with my next pick. Well, we listened to my next pick. This is Moby Dick, live at the Royal Albert Hall in 1970 by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, what a classic.
Yeah, it's just, I was going to say it's the gold standard, but it's not even the gold standard. It's like, and I was just looking it up, like, now they define a kilogram using the Planck standard. But like for a time, it was like a cube of platinum.
Uh-huh.
That was like, this is what a kilogram is. And like everything is like kind of measured off of that. And it's like Moby Dick is that for drum solos.
Yeah, like just the physics of how he hits the drums. It's like there's like a weird gravity black hole around him where just everything like vibrates differently and like has more mass to the sound and like
and it's like it's one guy doing that. And like there are a lot of other epic drum solos out there, but it's like there aren't any that are better than that. And then like for like one guy to play the better part of 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it not be like, oh, okay, I'm going to go take a pee break. Like, it's just like, it's entertaining and it draws you in and it's fascinating the whole time.
Yeah,
and then
he's just giving a master class on drumming there.
Yeah.
You know, and he switches to the hands.
Yeah.
And yeah, just he always has the timing going on the hi-hat, you know, the chick, 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 chick. Like, this is how much of a Bonham nerd I am. Like, on my hi-hat here, I have the ching ring. Like, just because John Bonham, you know?
Right.
So when you're doing the hi-hat like that, it's like you got that extra little, like, tambourine ching going on.
Do you have your the wing nut on your cowbell a little bit loose?
A little bit loose so it moves?
Yeah.
No, but I do have like all the same drum heads he would use.
Nice.
I don't have the same cymbals he used. They're pretty expensive, but I'd like to get a set. But yeah, emperors on the batter side and yeah, ambassadors on the Rezo side and
nice
Ludwig's in the right size. Yeah, just it's the best sound.
Yeah, and then like even just like his playing, like I love like the very beginning of like the solo part, like Jimmy and John Paul have left the stage, and it's like it starts out like kind of slow, and he's just kind of doing one thing and then another thing and then another thing, and it reminds me of what's Peter and the Wolf.
Oh,
Like I thought about it while we were watching that, but that was 15 minutes ago, so I had time to forget the point I was going to make. Like Peter and the Wolf, where it's like it's the whole symphony, and it's like this instrument represents this animal. Like,
yeah,
you know, this is the fox, this is the goose, like this is Peter on the flute. And it's like it's kind of like that. Like he's like introducing like the story he's about to tell with his drums.
Yeah.
Like an introduction.
Well, yeah, drums used to be used for communication.
Right.
And yeah, it's like there's something so primal. Yeah, like I put Full in the Rain just for the halftime shuffle.
Right.
And like the way he added to the feel of the song. And also I was trying to stay away from drum solos.
Yeah, me too. But it's
just
like
because it's a lot of flash but I mean it is like showing what the drummer can do for sure. But I'm really like I almost picked Moby Dick, but I'm glad you picked it.
Yeah, I mean it had to be on here. That it's like if you somehow gotten to the age where you're old enough to listen to music podcasts.
Yeah, it's the master class. It's timeless.
Yeah, it's just
and every drummer will tell you he's the best.
Yeah, it's the platinum standard. That it's like have you ever wondered why like you go to a concert and the headliner has like a hotshot really good drummer and like half the band goes and like goes pee and gets another bottle of water and there's a drum solo? It's like it's because of John Bonham. Like
a drummer can make or break the band for sure.
Totally.
Okay, a couple things. So John Bonham, before Led Zeppelin, he was in Band of Joy with Robert Plant, and Jimmy Page was thinking of having Terry Reid sing for him, but Terry Reid didn't want to sing for the New Yardbirds. And he said, well, you should check out Robert Plant. And so like Robert Plant came and was like, oh, well, you got to get John Bonham to play with us.
Oh, nice.
And just kept calling him, leaving him messages and stuff like, hey, come on. You got to play in this new band. Yeah, they were kind of a package deal. I guess they kind of came together.
That's cool.
Through that Band of Joy connection. Oh, and like my first pick, just to go back to Keith Moon. Well, like Keith Moon and John Bonham were great friends. Did a lot of shenanigans together. Okay, so yeah, we talked a lot about John Bonham and his particular drums. And so on Led Zeppelin's first tour, they played quite a bit of shows with Vanilla Fudge.
Oh, yeah.
And this next drummer is played these size Ludwig drums and called Ludwig and said, "You guys got to sponsor this guy. You got to send him a drum set like right now." And so they did, and he played those big Ludwigs and later Vistalites and then the stainless steel kit. But yeah, Carmine Appice is the one that got the hookup for the big Ludwigs for Bonham.
Nice.
So this is Cactus, One Way or Another, with Carmine Appice on drums.
I love this song.
These guys are awesome.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's almost hard to hear the drums with like how fuzzed the guitar is and how like gravelly the singer's voice is. But it's like, yeah, Carmen is such a legend.
Yeah, he's an amazing drummer. Yeah, just such a character too.
I was just looking him up because it's like, yeah, he's still doing it. Like, I was gonna say, like, the obvious choice for our crazy horse is Keith Moon, but like,
because he's Crazy Keith.
Yeah, but it's
Mooney.
Like, I think Carmen should be our crazy horse.
Yeah,
just for like the longevity of his career. That it's like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, he's just so amazing. I mean, Vanilla Fudge, Cactus,
yeah,
Rod Stewart's band.
Yeah,
you know, he's the one that wrote "Do You Think I'm Sexy?"
Yeah, Blue Murder,
and yeah, Blue Murder. Did he play with Ozzy for a bit?
Let's see. Stanley Clarke, Ted Nugent, Pink Floyd, played with Ozzy.
Yeah, I mean, he can hold down to the drummer throne for anybody.
Played with Rick Derringer.
Yeah, well, yeah, and his brother, Vinny, from Dio and Derringer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you could hire Carmine Appice to play drums for you, and like, if he couldn't make it, he'd be like, "Well, I know a guy."
Yeah,
that fuzzed out guitar on there, that's Jim McCarty. Totally underrated guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that Ted Nugent always talks about, like first totally blowing his mind. Because like he listened to that and it's just this crazy guitar, but he was the guitar player with Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. And I don't know if you've ever seen interviews with Ted Nugent. He names him as like his big influence that just like made him see what guitar could do,
right?
Like, to really drive the song. Great guitar player.
Total tangent, but you got your phone?
Yeah.
Do a Google image search or Wikipedia search.
Yeah, and tying back to the name of the song, One Way or Another.
Mm-hmm.
One Way or Another, we got to have that Fu Manchu up on the mountain.
100%.
Yeah, I mean the Rod Stewart band from that era was a great band.
Oh yeah.
You know, and like, yeah, he can write good songs. He can play with anybody. He like literally wrote the book on rock drumming.
Yeah. Okay. So do a Google image search for Tom Savini.
Oh. American makeup artist and actor. Could be his doppelganger, huh?
Yeah. I was like, man, is he Tom Savini's stunt double? Or vice versa?
Vice versa.
They were born a month apart.
Oh, trippy.
Yeah. They're like almost exactly the same age.
Yeah.
One was born in New York City, the other in Philadelphia.
And even though he is so accomplished and larger than life, he is kind of underrated.
Yeah.
In a way.
Not that many
if you know
people
who
know
he
about
is, you don't think he's underrated, but
right.
He's not going to make like a Rolling Stone list or most people's top 10 drummers list.
Right. Well, yeah.
But he's definitely left a mark on drumming.
Yeah, he'll never make the Rolling Stone top 100 because he never played with Bob Dylan.
Yeah, we're kind of the opposite of the list that their editorial group puts together.
Yeah.
Like last week, we were talking about how awesome Billy Gibbons is and stuff. Even though Billy Gibbons didn't make our Mount Rushmore, he didn't even crack the top 100 on Rolling Stone's list of 200 best guitarists.
Yeah. But, there's still time. Carmen and Simi are still alive, so.
Yeah.
Still time for a octogenarian collab. It'd be his way to break into the Rolling Stone top 100 drummers of all time.
Well, if they called us, or maybe one of them will start listening to our podcast. We should send an email to their editorial group.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should edit he bad mouthing him, clowning him,
or maybe not. They seem like people that could take constructive criticism. Anyways, is this next pick yours?
Yes.
Yeah. If you haven't listened to much Cactus.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Holy
Check
moly.
them out.
Yeah. Those guys bring the thunder for sure. Okay. So yeah, the influence of jazz and swing on rock is, for better or for worse, isn't that well represented on our list. But one of my favorite drummers of all time had to be included. This is Bill Ward playing with Black Sabbath and Children of the Grave. That spacey outro will lead right into your prog selection.
Yeah. Was that hurdy-gurdy on that song?
I think that's just a sound
organ.
I think that's just a sound Ozzy makes.
No, there's a little sound in there or something. Yeah, Bill Ward's great. I want to see them do that live because I think those timbales are kind of overdubbed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Ozzy plays them or something, but yeah. Well,
Maybe.
It's probably Bill Ward playing them on the recording.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder how they do that live.
Yeah, we could check. Yeah, he's just such a cool drummer. He's not super flashy. He's not in your face. He just lays it down, and it's he has the King Kong sound, but it's not super aggressive for being in a heavy metal band. It's just
well, that's not the King Kong sound.
Okay. So
when it comes to drums, technically.
Okay. Actually.
Yeah, I can see how you would use that terminology.
Okay.
But there actually is a King Kong beat.
Okay.
Now I'm regretting not putting someone on the list.
I've only heard that term directly used for the guy from Redbone.
Yeah, that's the King Kong beat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that King Kong beat became the groove that David Garibaldi. Yeah, I kind of want to add him to the list now. I'm thinking rock drummers all the time,
Right.
Oh, also, it's rumored, kind of like our Jimi Hendrix thinking Rory Gallagher was the best guitarist in the world. Same level of rumor, possible misinformation. There is some rumors that John Bonham played drums on Hurdy Gurdy Man.
Huh.
Yeah, David Garibaldi talks a lot about the King Kong beat from Redbone. So you were using it in that right context then.
Okay, maybe I just don't know what it is because it's the rhythm section for Redbone just always sounded so thick and beefy. I thought it just meant referred to their their heaviness.
Well, it is a beat from one of their songs.
Okay.
So yeah, it is an actual beat. But it does refer also to their heaviness. But the King Kong beat is an actual beat that you can like play.
Okay.
Which David Garibaldi like adapted to a lot of songs that Tower of Power did. So I might slip in a last minute ad with David Garibaldi too.
Yeah, Wikipedia mentions it, but doesn't provide a link or a definition. So.
Yeah, and last week we were talking about Bill Ward's snare.
Yeah.
Which is a Ludwig standard from the late 60s.
Depending on how next week's episode plays out, we could end up with one of our possible supergroups being Heaven
fully
and Hell
represented
/ Dio era Sabbath.
That's true.
Like that could just be one of our supergroups.
We didn't have Ozzy on our vocal list.
No. But we had Ronnie.
Yeah, we did have Ronnie. Interesting. That could, yeah.
And we had Tony as one of our nominees. I mean, I do love the way Geezer Butler plays bass. So,
oh, for sure. Yeah, we'll know by the time we get to the end of the series who made the cut and who didn't, who was fully represented. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Bill Ward played a Ludwig standard, which is kind of like a budget drum. Like, you know, if you couldn't afford like their top of the line classic stuff.
Right. Makes sense if you're from Birmingham.
The standard, it was kind of a stripped down, like still use the same material as the classic aluminum snare drums, but it didn't have the center bead, had fewer lugs, and it had a more simplified lug that was only specific to the standard line of drums. But it still had that great sound. So yeah, I love the way Ludwig snares sound. John Bonham's Superphonic 6.5-inch deep version being the best sounding snare drum ever.
Right.
But this next pick is my second favorite 6.5-inch deep. Okay, so there's the Superphonic, which just has a regular throw off and the snare just goes on the bottom of the batter head. And then there's the Super Sensitive, which has longer snares on the bottom that go all the way across the drum head and then like kind of hang out on either side with these big mechanisms. And I believe it has a rod going all the way through the drum to provide like a reverse tension on the snares.
Okay.
But it's the same shell as the Superphonic. It's a lead alloy with the center bead, same lugs, just has a different snare mechanism. So this is I love the way certain drums sound. I also love the way certain drummers play. So, you know, John Bonham's snare sounds great, but if he couldn't play it or play those thunderous, thick grooves that he played, it kind of wouldn't matter. Speaking of drummers that are simple, there's the guy in the E Street Band. Oh, what's his name? A lot of people like talk about him as being just a basic solid drummer like Charlie Watts was,
right.
You know, like no frills. And that's probably why I can't remember his name right now. I could look it up, but he's not going to make our list, so I won't bother. But like, you know, like that snare drum on Born in the USA. That's like a big snare sound, but it's like, who cares? You know, he just thwacked at it.
Right.
And there's a lot of studio tricks going on there to overblow it. But this guy just played with such finesse and inventiveness. He's kind of like, he's got the finesse of Mitch Mitchell. He's got almost the power of Bonham. And he's also got this kind of like outside the box thinking that just makes these really cool parts. This is Bill Bruford, and this is Heart of the Sunrise from Yes, from their album Fragile. Prague. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was some pretty prog.
Hopefully that wasn't too many fiddly bits for you.
There were a fair number of fiddly bits. It was good. I
love Yes. They're so good.
I think I need bigger headphones with like a curly cord and be sitting in an egg chair on the bridge of an ornithopter.
Nice. Smoking a hookah.
Yeah. It's like sailing over a tripped out a psychedelic landscape.
Yeah. Yeah, he's also my favorite out of the drummers that they've had in King Crimson. He's in a band with Alan Holdsworth called UK, which was totally amazing, but I spared you having to listen to those guys. They get super extra fiddly.
Nice.
Yeah, Yes is cool because, they're all virtuosos, but they like put it together in like a really cinematic package, and it like goes places. It's not just, it is just faffing about, but it's like, if it's directional faffing.
Right.
Like,
yeah, there's intention.
Puts winds in the sails of your ornithopter.
Yeah, they always had such rad album covers too. Like,
oh man,
I've wanted to like.
Yeah, I love that artwork.
Much. Yeah.
Do you have that old tank top of mine with all the mushrooms and stuff on it? I think it was the same art as that guy. Yeah, that thing was rad.
Totally.
Yeah, I wish they made clothes like that still. I'd wear them. I can't remember the name of that artist.
I'm sure they do.
But yeah.
I'll go check the place at the corner of 116 and Stony Point. Still there. What shades of tie-dye do you want?
Oh man, I like them all.
Are you an autumn or a spring?
I'm actually a surf break, like a tropical surf break at sunrise.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the like my cloud over my mixing board here.
Yeah.
That was the instructions I gave to Issa when she went to a tie-dye party at her Grateful Dead. Well, her friend, his parents are total deadheads.
Mm-hmm.
They're like members of the 300 Club or whatever, like people who've dropped acid more than 300 times,
right?
Or something like that. Yeah. So I was like, tropical surf break at sunrise.
Is that what that means? Is that why the 700 Club is like so bizarre?
Those guys have taken even more acid.
Yeah. Like more than twice as much. Holy, that explains a lot. Okay.
Not just twice as much, 100 more.
Yep.
100 more than twice as much.
If my math is correct.
Yeah. So Bill Bruford, king of the fiddly bits.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I could see getting into that.
Yeah, that album's like a good jumping off point. Like if you can't get past that, it's like you don't need to check out Close to the Edge or any of their other stuff.
Okay.
Their first album's pretty good. It's like Starship Trooper and stuff on it.
Mm-hmm. I know. I've tried to listen to that song so many times.
Yeah, Yes has it all. Yes has all the things Clark likes, minus digestible music.
Yeah. Where it's like, I don't know. You picked all of the things to make like a delicious like apple Dutch baby, which should be just like a holy amalgamation of apple pie and oven baked pancake. Just like a symphonic souffle of deliciousness. But you didn't scrub out the cast iron pan enough from when you made fish last night. You still have some seared salmon.
I actually have the opposite problem because everything I cook in my cast iron pan tastes like cinnamon from a Dutch baby, like cinnamon apple.
Yeah.
I have a separate pan for Dutch babies now because I had the opposite problem. My fish was like a little too apple apple cinnamony.
Too many harvest spices.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you warned us last week that there was going to be Prague. And so I had to make sure to have a palate cleanser before we carried on. And so this is one of my favorite metal drummers of all time. And
yeah, this might be another, although we didn't have any guitar players from these guys.
Yeah.
This might be another one that could very well end up being fully represented too.
Oh yeah, no spoilers, but Steve Harris is going to be number one on my list.
Well, he's gonna be on. Well, okay, no spoilers. If we had guitars, these guys would all be there. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Rules are rules.
Yeah. Yeah. So they've had plenty of phenomenal drummers in this band, but I mean, this guy is he's head and shoulders above most other drummers. And then I don't know if he's as much a goofball, but he's as Keith Moon, or he's not as crazy, but he's just as goofy. And anyway,
just as animated when he plays.
Yeah, and then just like personality wise, like this guy, even though Steve Harris, Dave Murray are like the soul of Iron Maiden and always have been, Nico McBrain is like the heart of Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
He pumps the blood around this band. And it's just like, if you ever see any of their like live concert movies or like any of the documentaries about him, like he is such a clown. Like he's just always cracking jokes and being like, he's such a funny dude.
Like advice you hear a lot for like up and coming musicians who want to get in a band, like over and above your playing ability, you have to be a good hang. If you want to have any longevity, if you want to have a good experience playing in a band, you have to be a good hang.
Yeah. Don't think it's all about you. You're part of a band.
Yeah.
Like check your ego at the practice room door. Like,
yeah, don't be a prima donna. Yeah, there's drummers or there's musicians that will get into the band because they're easier to get along with and they're better to hang out with. They're better to ride around in a bus or a van with than, it's like that's the most important part in a band. But if you can play too and be a good hang, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, and it's like every single member of Iron Maiden ever like would be a fascinating person to like talk to for an afternoon. But like Nico McBrain, if I got to be like his roadie or his footman, it's just like, can I hang out with you all the time?
Yeah, there's reasons bands are together for 30, 40, 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
You know, when other bands are together for 2 or 3 and won't talk to each other for a reunion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that there are like a shortage of short-lived bands that aren't totally epic. But it's like, you need to be a cool person to stand the test of time, play well with others. So there are lots of things that I could have picked. I almost put Aces High, but I'm pretty sure that we've already covered Aces High.
Yeah.
On our classic metal episode. And then I found a lot of videos of like isolated drum tracks or like drum playthroughs where like they're playing the song and then the drummer's playing along with the song being played. So a couple of my other picks, a couple of my other nominees are featured like that. But this one, I thought, okay, he's one of my favorite drummers of all time. Why not really put him to the test? And so this is a Guitar Center drum off. And so all the drummers play the same kit. And so this is like Nico McBrain playing with like half his drum kit or like 2/3 of his drum kit tied behind his back. So this
we'll
is
find out.
Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden, Da Troopa. And it's probably the only time we're actually going to be able to see Nico actually playing the drums, because he might not have the biggest drum kit ever, but he definitely has one of the tallest drum kits ever.
Yeah, he puts all the toms like right at face height.
Yeah. So I think I talked about it on the last time we talked about Iron Maiden, is that you can always tell when the show's about to start, because there's roadies running around and like people come out with guitars and people start cheering, but it's like that. No, it's just a guy. It's just part of the crew. But you can always tell when the slides. You have to look under the drums, and when the like bare feet wearing slides come in and kick off the slides, okay, it goes in place. Show's about to start.
About to kick off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's interesting because he's one of the few metal drummers, like modern today metal drummers, that doesn't use double bass.
Mm-hmm.
Like all his patterns are all just a single kick drum, which is just amazing.
Yeah.
Like I've only played with one drummer that could like do those really fast patterns like that. It kind of reminds me of Nico a little bit, like the way he plays, like the way he tacks the drums and stuff.
If we're
like when I played with Eric Strand, when I played with Eric Strand.
Yeah. I was going to say, if we're thinking about the same person, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I saw him. I saw him last Saturday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I never thought about that before, but like watching Nico play, it was like, yeah, Eric Strand used to do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's a local guy. He's played with everybody.
Yeah.
Because he's a great drummer.
Yeah, and it's like he can play heavy stuff. Like, should Eric Strand be our crazy horse?
Maybe. We'd have to find some videos of him playing.
I know.
Which probably wouldn't be too hard.
Probably not.
Definitely an honorable mention.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's like, he can play super heavy, he can play super fast, he can play slow. I saw him with like a Celtic punk band on Saturday of Lucky Old Bones. It's one of my favorite bands ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I could say he's the best drummer I've ever played with or been in a band with. But I also play with Sean Lafayette Scott, who is just, like an amazing, just the best natural drummer I've ever played with. And he can play quiet and it still sounds really good.
Right.
Yeah, it's so nice to record with him because he grew, like a lot of drummers these days, they've grown up playing in church, like a lot of the really great technical drummers of this modern era. They grew up playing in church, and he also grew up playing in church. So he can play like where you don't have to have everything turned up and super loud.
Nice.
Which is like really nice, especially when you're recording, because it just always sounds good.
Right. Interesting.
But yeah, technically Strand, well, and Sean can play technically too, but it just flows out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, should we Yeah, we should have started the episode with the prog warning and the disclaimer that, like, we come from a family of drummers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you know, we
our
may
Uncle
be
Mike.
a little biased towards drumming.
Yeah, because I always wanted to be a drummer. And I guess I could say I'm kind of a drummer now, but
You're a pretty
like
good
I always
drummer,
wanted
dude.
to. Well, but I always wanted to play drums, like originally, like more than guitar. I wanted to be a drummer.
Okay.
And I would roadie for Uncle Mike, and he was amazing.
Yeah.
Great drummer. Yeah. His band, yeah, they were really good. And then he played in a Dixieland band with some of the same guys. And yeah, he could play anything. You know, he's got to be in his 80s now.
Yeah.
But yeah, super good drummer. And his daughter plays drums.
Yep.
And
Kristen.
Yeah. So I always wanted to be a drummer, but I also liked playing guitar because I didn't have a drum set. But then I would play guitar with my friend Mike Gutch, and his brother got a drum set. And it was out in the garage, and we like kind of slowly took it over. And we would take turns and stuff, but it was always, since it was at Mike's house and it was his brother's drum set, he got to play drums. And so I would get stuck on guitar, even though both of us wanted to play drums. I ended up playing guitar more. So that made me like a better guitar player because I ended up on the guitar all the time.
Right.
But I still love playing drums too.
Yeah, and you're no slouch on the skins. I know you're humble.
Well, I have high
aspirations,
expectations.
Yeah.
Well, expectations because of some of the people I've played with, and
true.
Like even my friend Mike Gutch, like he's a great drummer too.
Yeah,
and he's like the king of the shuffles. Like we'll have a shuffles song episode on here. Nice. And have him as a special guest. And then also we'll have him on for a garage rock. We'll have him on as a special guest for a garage rock episode. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's really good too.
When we came up for your 50th birthday party, you got coffee and donuts back together. And
well, kind of, not really. Casey was there. Steve was there. David was there.
Oh, yeah. So okay. Yeah, you're right.
We had 3/4. Steve was there.
Yeah,
I was hoping Sean would be able to come. So we didn't have a drummer. So I kind of got stuck playing the drums.
Yeah. So
which was fine.
At one point, you guys were all like you had played for a while, and then you were just kind of goofing around, and you were playing drums, and like I think David was playing bass.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
And
yeah, he brought his Rickenbacker down.
Yeah, and Casey was playing guitar. So like you were all playing instruments that you weren't like.
Well, David is a bass player.
Yeah, but I still think of him as the singer from Coffee and Donuts.
Yeah, he is a singer bass player though. His band City of Pieces.
Yeah, fair.
Great punk band out of Salem, Oregon.
But like, you know, I have this imprinted like memory as a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Like going to see Coffee and Donuts. I'm like, okay, that's who these guys are. Like, you know, I have the G.I. Joe little like data fax card from the back of your action figure packages, and it's like David Fox vocals.
Well, and Mike Hill was a great drummer too.
But
yeah, Mike Hill was a great drummer too in Coffee and Donuts. He taught me like all the odd time signatures and stuff. And yeah, he also had a really bouncy kind of beat, got people dancing.
Yeah, but I just remember like at that point, somebody just started playing Tom Sawyer and everybody else jumped in. And Erica was so mad. Like, she was like, I thought your brother was a guitar player. Like, she was learning how to play drums. And she was like, this is so frustrating. Like,
Oh,
she
should
wasn't
have sat in with us.
She was,
yeah, not fair kind of thing.
Yeah, not fair. Exactly.
Yeah.
You guys were playing Tom Sawyer. It's like, yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Like, how?
You win. Yeah, I can't really play like Neil Peart, but I like to pretend.
Yeah, well,
I tried to learn 2112 last summer, and I was like,
oh, man.
It's like, I know this song inside and out. I should just be able to, like, I've air drummed it so many times. I should be able to like really play it.
Right.
Yeah, but no. And speaking of Neil Peart.
Speaking of.
Yeah. And every once in a while we do feature a song where it is like, this is the song that like kicked off, like Back in Black. It's like, well, are they going to be okay without Bon? It's like, well, is Rush going to be okay without John Rutsey?
Mm-hmm.
Here's your answer. This is Rush Anthem. Oh, man.
That'd be one of the rockinest outros of any song.
Oh, totally.
Like, so many glory fake outs.
Yeah,
bam, 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 bam. So good.
Yeah. Oh man, speaking of Eric Strand, he's sent me a box of cassette tapes earlier this year.
Yeah.
And there's a recording of us playing at a Battle of the Bands at Magnolia's.
Whoa.
And like we had played the first round of that Battle of the Bands and we lost. But then the band that won that night broke up. So they called us back and asked us if we'd come play the next round.
Nice.
And we knew, well, they already didn't want us, or they already didn't pick us to win last week. So it's like, let's just go, fill the spot and just totally blow it out. So we played Anthem at that one. And like Eric could just play it note for note, just did it such a great job playing that version of Anthem from the album. And even though I couldn't do 2112, even though I've air drummed it a million times and never listened to it even more, I could fake the Alex Lifeson guitar solo without actually learning it, just from it just being emblazoned in my mind.
Into your brain.
And kind of knowing, okay, well, he does the slow thing and then he goes up high and goes fast and then he goes even faster and goes all over the place. Yeah. So I just kind of winged it and was able to pull it off.
Nice.
I could not sing like Geddy though. I could sing some of it like Geddy, but then I had to go lower some of those high parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally fun song to play. And I love that whole album, Fly By Night. Man,
it's so good.
Album. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like...
And as a debut album, I mean, it's not their debut album technically, but
that...
as Neil's debut.
Yeah.
Man, amazing.
Yeah, just crushed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was
just
thinking...
their albums, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, I earlier this year I listened to Geddy reading his autobiography, and which, if you're a music nerd, even if you're not that big a Rush fan, listen to it. He's such a cool dude.
Yeah. Have you seen that show? I think it's on
No,
Paramount.
Not yet. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, next time you come up, we'll watch them all.
Okay.
Super cool.
Yeah, I think last time I was up, it hadn't come out yet. But yeah, I was just thinking,
maybe we just forgot.
Maybe. But it's like those guys were so cool without being cool.
Yeah.
And like, I was just thinking, like,
they were pretty cool, though.
They were pretty cool, but they weren't cool. Like,
well, yeah, like when they were on tour with Kiss thought they were a bunch of nerds.
Yeah. And like, I was just thinking, we give a lot of like unsolicited, like old guy advice.
Oh, yeah.
And, like,
we're good at that.
Support local bands, like, go see bands that you like live. And it's like, if you're a musician, like, don't try to be cool. Don't try to, like, just learn everything that you can and just like be true to yourself and like, be yourself. And it's like, that's kind of what that song is about.
Yeah. Express your inner vision.
Yeah. And it's like,
yeah,
you might not end up with like, a trillion streams, but like,
and that's okay.
But it's like, if you learn a lot and you have like a point of view and you're true to it, like, people are just gonna see you play and go and like form memories. Like, they're gonna be like, yeah, this is somebody trying to say something.
Oh man, this might. Well, I did nominate Alex Lifeson.
Yeah, and it's like, I was thinking about that. Like, yeah, why didn't
he is kind of left field?
A little bit, but he's a phenomenal guitar player. Like,
right.
Like, the solo on that song, like you said, it's just.
Oh yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, maybe we kind of overlooked him because we got distracted with some other things, but yeah. At least these guys will all be nominated.
Yeah, they'll all be nominated for sure. So it's like they're another, like, even if
they might,
even if they're not like our picks for a super group, they're like, they're one of the combinations in there of all our nominees.
Yeah, and the way I see it is any one of them could be on a Mount Rushmore for their particular instrument, but like they're kind of their own Mount Rushmore as a band, like the three of them together.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of seeing like each one on like, oh, where there's the drum mountain, there's the guitar mountain, there's the bass mountain. I'd rather see the three of them together on their own.
Right. But then it's like knowing the members of that band so well, they'd be like the last people that would want to be carved onto a mountain.
Yeah.
You'd be like,
they would get over it though.
Yeah, probably. But yeah.
But we don't want to make the same mistake that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame did for decades and decades and decades.
Absolutely not. As awesome as Alex's acceptance speech was.
Yeah. Amazing. Have you never seen Alex Lifeson's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame acceptance speech? It's like one of the greatest things of all time.
Of all time. Like, it's so perfect. But especially if you know the history. And it's like, it's not mime because he's actually talking, but it is mime. Like, he's expressing like the whole thing.
Yeah. Apparently Neil and Alex were like a little upset with him for doing that until they saw it back and they were like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, because
like when they were there, because they were expecting something different. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they couldn't really hear it when they were on stage. So
yeah,
I think that was part of it. Yeah, Neil,
I think they were like slightly perturbed with him. Like, we finally get our chance, and like, this is what you do. But then, like, it didn't take long for that to wear off and make them realize that, like, no, that was amazing.
Yeah, Alex was killing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Check that one out if you've never seen it.
Yeah, and it's like we talked about it. I think it was last episode. One of the times we talked about Rush, it was like how like Neil was the professor and like was this amazing next level inhuman drummer, and like Alex and Geddy are also phenomenal, but like they're as technically proficient and virtuosic as they are, it's like they're still kind of in Neil's shadow of just like legendary, like
as far as like name recognition,
god tier player. But then it's like, I still think it's so hilarious that like in their heart of hearts, like Alex and Geddy are still like those two goofballs in the back of the classroom at whatever, Willowdale Elementary School or whatever it was.
Yeah, apparently when Neil Peart tried out for Rush, he like showed up in a station wagon and he's wearing like cutoffs and he had like shorter hair, and he pulled all these garbage cans out of the back of the station wagon. He had all his drums stored in garbage cans, and Geddy and Alex were like, "What? Who is this dude?" You know? But once he played, it was like, "Yep, this is the guy."
Like some skinny guy, tall skinny guy with short hair, works at his dad's tractor factory or tractor
International
dealership.
Harvester parts counter.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh man. So speaking of that, what's your next pick?
So I mean, we would be fools to not pick Neil Peart or not nominate him. And the rules are, if somebody gets two nominations, like one from each of us,
they're
automatically up there,
advance.
And so John Bonham,
Neil Peart,
absolutely
can't argue with that.
And so,
but it's like, Neil is Neil, like god tier, and he's Neil Peart, and he passed away, and everybody knows who Neil Peart is. But Peart, whatever.
Yeah.
But like we're not just like, oh well, we got to have Neil up there. Like,
no.
For us, Neil was like part of our childhood.
100%.
And we had all the Rush albums. When a new one came out, we got the new one. We read his books that he wrote. We thought it was cool that he rode bicycles, and just like, I mean, we're not just like, oh yeah, Rush is great. It's like, we're the people that were trying to sell everybody on Rush.
Yeah.
Back before Rush, like, everybody, it was a household name.
Yeah, we were the guys that were like, when people would say, all their songs sound the same. And we'd hit back with
that guy, that singer.
Yeah, and all their
like
songs
Tweety
sound the
Bird
same. It's like, you've only heard Tom Sawyer. That's why you think all their songs sound the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Moving Pictures was huge, groundbreaking album.
Yeah.
It was like the hot tour that summer when it came out. Everybody had the Rush shirts and stuff, but it's like, we're like dyed-in-the-wool Rush fans.
Oh, yeah. Like, how there are like Tolkien fans? They just like, I'm a huge Tolkien fan. I was wearing my Tom Bombadil hat during the Yes song.
The Yes song.
But like, I'm an even bigger Rush fan than I am a Tolkien fan. And
yeah, well,
like,
there's Tolkien fans, and then there's Lord of the Rings fans.
Right.
Yeah, and there's Tom Sawyer Moving Pictures YYZ fans. And then there's, Caress of Steel or, Roll the Bones fans, or Clockwork Angels or, yeah. Yeah.
There are some good songs on Roll the Bones, not going to lie. But then, there's Limelight, which we did feature last week, which is a phenomenal song. But then there's also Bytor and the Snow Dog.
Right.
It's like, yeah.
Well, and there's La Via Strangaiata. That was almost one I put on here, but I picked Anthem because it was just like, this was like the opening salvo, to shoot across the bow.
Oh, 100%. And perfect pick. And it's like, so, like, there are a zillion things I could have done. Like, I could have just had, like, on some of their live albums, they have, like, the Rhythm Method, and I forget what his other drum solo was called. But, like, I could have played one of his drum solos. Could have played, like, something where he's, like, banging on wood blocks and jingling chimes. Like, could have picked Xanadu or the Trees or something.
Anything off Hemispheres or Farewell to Kings or 2112. We could have just played the whole side of 2112.
Oh yeah, just talk about bringing the thunder. And it's like a lot of their, like, that's why, like, Rush is considered a prog rock band, but they're more prog adjacent. Like, they might have a song that's like an entire side of an album, but like, it's not really. It's more of like a musical arrangement, or like a.
They're pretty prog.
They're pretty prog, but like.
Well, there's prog, there's prog rock, then there's prog rock.
Right, and they're the latter. But like, it might be like a 25 to 30 minute song, but it's like it's broken up into like sections, and so it's
like literature.
Yeah, it's chapters, or it's like an opera. It's more of an opera than a song. That it's like, the Magic Flute. Like, not everybody knows all of the parts of the Magic Flute, but everybody's heard the Queen of the Night aria.
Yeah.
And it's like, 2112. Like, the 2112 overture is just, it's such a monster. And so my pick is one of my favorite musical pieces that Rush has ever done.
Nice.
Because it's part of one of those songs that's really like an opera. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't until streaming music on the internet that I could hear just this part, like, or on record, when I could just like put the needle right where I needed it to be.
Yeah.
That it was like every time I had this album on CD, it was like, I really want to hear that song or that part but I have to listen to, oh no, Twist My Arm. I have to listen to the whole song. But it's like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's a scene.
Yeah, it's a scene in
It's
one
like
of
a scene in a movie.
All right. I won't be allowed to make fun of Prague anymore if I keep faffing about. So,
yay!
this is Rush Bacchus Plateau, which is part of the Fountain of Lamnath off of Caress of Steel.
Man, that's awesome.
Right? It's like that has to be my favorite song that Rush ever did. Like it has it all. Like Neil's laying down this like groove, and then it has all the drumming stuff that I like. Like it's kind of a groovy, like almost Bill Wardy kind of like just loping drum beat.
Yeah,
and then it has
it's kind of mellow.
Yeah,
like I love it when Rush gets kind of mellow.
Yeah, and then it's like it has like these fills that are like, Nico McBrain, Mitch Mitchell, like
some triplets in there.
Yeah, little triplets.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's like it's the Venn diagram of all my favorite drummers, and then everything that I like when Neil does it. Like just it's the center of the bullseye for me.
Nice. Yeah. Plus it's got the word goblet in it.
It's got the goblet in it.
Get some goblet points.
And I can't really talk about how nerdy Prague is. Like it's not really fair. I have to confess that like one of my hobbies is playing miniatures war games and painting little miniature soldiers.
Nerd alert.
Nerd alert. And some of the games require objective markers, which, you could just throw like a, penny on the table or like have a little token or something that's like the objective. And you guys have to get to that, capture it or carry it off the table or whatever. But, if you're a huge nerd, like you can buy little objective markers, like little actual models of something valuable, like crates of ammunition or supplies or a treasure chest or something. And then if you're an absolute enormous colossal nerd, you'll make your own. And so I have one where it's like I collected all the little like miniature bottles and like little tankards and stuff and a barrel, and I put them all on a base, and I painted one of the bottles to look like my favorite whiskey, and then I painted the barrel with a 43 on it.
Draw another goblet from the cask of 43. Damn it, man. There's Alex Lifeson's guitar playing in that song.
Like his solo at the end of that. Like it
so
starts out kind of like
chimey.
It starts out all kind of like dainty and like almost like Richie Blackmore, like he's gonna do something Blackmore-esque, but then he just like, nope, I'm Alex Lifeson. Like,
well, he's got a bit of that like flamenco, like kind of Spanish, like almost what Jimmy Page was doing in Full of the Rain, like the kind of like the little start slow, speed up kind of play some of those like minor scales and stuff. Yeah. So you're saying that you would listen to the song like over and over, you'd like take the needle and drop it down and try and hear just this song?
Yeah. And then
because I remember
I know where you're going with this, and this is not my fault. It was like that before.
Because I remember My Caress of Steel, I would listen to the song and it would go, another doubtful fear. The road is, the road is, the road is, the road is.
Well, and then there was the other one with the the road ahead is not so clear. That's the line, right? Because I had, it was the 80s, so like if you had the album, you weren't going to be carrying it around, and like we were such music nerds that it's like I can't buy all of the cassettes, like I can't I can't spend money to buy a cassette tape.
So I'm going to make a tape of it.
Yeah, so I'm going to record it off the LP onto cassette tape because we already own that music. Like if I'm going to spend money on a cassette, I could buy something we don't already have, and so it's like, I think I was in my 20s before I knew what the lyrics were.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I heard it not skip that part. Yeah.
Probably wasn't your fault.
No.
Because that's like toward the end of the song. It's not like really the beginning of the song.
No. Yeah, I think it's like kind of the middle. Yeah, that was part of the that was like the triple album collection.
Yeah, where it was
Archive. Rush Archives. And I had like the first album, Fly By Night and Caress of Steel.
I think it was
the first three.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Because
Farewell to Kings was on there too.
No, because we had Farewell to Kings as its own separate album.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it wasn't until I bought Fly By Night on CD that I saw the liner notes for it, and I was like, why didn't we have this on LP? This would be so cool. Like, have you ever seen the liner notes? But they're like handwritten. It's like a handwritten lyric sheet.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's like a little drawing for like most of the songs. It's like, oh man, this is so cool.
It's very hobbity.
Very hobbity.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, Neil's on the
100%
on the mountain.
And hopefully we've established our like deep-seated Rush fandom, that we're not just like, oh yeah, we saw that I Love You Man and got into Rush.
What's that one?
You ever see that movie? Paul Rudd and what's his name? You've seen the part of it where they go backstage at a Rush concert. It's pretty famous.
Oh, like they go to a meet and greet or something?
Yeah. And he's like, I slap at a bass. And then they like...
It sounds familiar.
They steal something. Or they try to steal his bass or something. I can't remember. Oh, they eat Neil's sandwich. That's what it is. Yeah, he has like
I don't think I've seen
hoagie.
That.
Yeah, he has a hoagie and it has a note like this is neat for Neil Peart.
Oh, man.
And he's like, he'd be cool with it. Like, no, there's a sign.
Oh man. Yeah, that guy's cool. There's what's that other movie where he's like a record executive for like a small label, and he's trying to like orchestrate a comeback for Graham Parker.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I always get Graham Parker and Graham Parsons.
Yeah.
Mixed up. I mean, their names mixed up. I don't get them mixed up musically at all.
No.
Oh, This Is 40.
Yeah, I never saw that.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's like you can't not like Paul Rudd. Like,
yeah, he's good in it.
I think Making Memories on those, the handwritten lyric sheet.
Oh yeah,
it has like a little car like peeling out.
Yeah, I love that song too. Yeah, I love those strummy things where like Alex will kind of play like kind of country licks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little hot rod, like the rooster tail with dust, and then like shadow animal hands coming out of the windows of the
Oh man.
like, Bytor and the Snow Dogs got the two dogs Bytor like fighting in front of the moon.
Yeah.
So
oh
cool.
yeah. Yeah, that's oh man. Such cool stuff.
Right.
Oh man. I'm gonna be listening to Rush all week. We're back from break. I got my
Your goblet. Oh nice.
my goblet.
Yeah,
You got me this one. It's like ceramic. It's got the skull and crossbones on it.
Yeah, those guys go to the Dickens Fair and they go to Pirate Fest, but there hasn't been a Pirate Fest since before COVID. But I guess they're coming back. That's what their Facebook said.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Like they make goblets, but they only did the little skull and crossbones things for Pirate Fest.
Yeah, I quit drinking on my 25th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I put some San Pellegrino in here with like a strawberry hydration pack and a squeeze of lime and some ice.
Nice.
So I'm pretending this came from the cask of 43.
Nice.
Yeah. It won't give me any crimson misty memories though.
Well, maybe it will.
But yeah. I figure if I put some electrolytes in there, I might not need to take quite as many pee breaks.
Strategizing. Mine came from the cask of 805.
Yeah, since we have a few more prog numbers on the list, I don't want to be kind to my bladder.
Fair. Although, yeah, it's like I can't really point fingers, so I'm the one who put the 15-minute song on the playlist.
Oh man, that's all right. Okay, this is a good way though to like kind of hold each other captive, because like you should be like, I don't want to listen to that whole song, but it's like it's for the podcast. I'm gonna force you to listen to 12-minute ditty. Yeah,
it's like luckily our tastes. I was gonna say, luckily we both have good taste, because that's debatable. But luckily, luckily our tastes are too dissimilar. So like the stuff you like that I don't like, it's not like it's the worst. It's not like I don't know.
It's not chalk and cheese.
Exactly.
But some of my cheese is on the chalky side.
Hey, I like a nice dry aged, lots of stuff.
Dubliner, where it's got like the little crystals in it.
Yeah, that's not really chalky though. Oh man, Dubliner's so good.
It's not chalky, but it's got the little, it's got like some grit to it.
Yeah.
And enzymatic grit.
Yeah, the little protein crystals.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oliver's there's this type of cheese, and it's made somewhere in Germany, and it's like a really orange cheese. And like traditionally, there was like a big stone in the middle of town that had these little like niches in it, little cheese shaped holes or cheese sized holes in this big rock. And so they would like keep the cheese there because it would be like out of the rain, and then like sort of climate controlled environment.
Uh-huh.
But like it had like a pretty thick rind on it, and like it's one of those weird food things where it's like, did they eat this out of desperation? And they're like, hey, it's actually pretty good. Like one of those kind of foods.
It won't kill you. Yeah.
So like the traditional version of this cheese has these like mites from the rock get in the rind and like make little burrows and like kind of chew out parts of the rind. So it kind of has this like trippy, porous rind on it.
A matrix.
Yeah. And then like, the mites don't get all the way into the cheese, but then like the mites crawling around on the outside of the cheese like somehow imparts like an even like a unique flavor.
Oh man.
And so like they found out ways to like get that flavor without using mites that live on a rock.
Uh-huh.
And so Oliver's one time had that cheese, like, the modern version or the non-traditional version of that cheese. And and it was like, yeah, it was pretty, it wasn't chalky, but it was definitely like one of the firmer like like cheeses I've ever had. Like, it was really dry. Like,
yeah, like hard dry cheese.
Yeah, like as hard or harder than Parmesan.
Oh man.
Especially the further into mite territory you got.
Oh man. Yeah, I'll have to text you the brand. There's a Irish cheese that's pretty decent that's showing up at Gross Out.
Mm-hmm.
They sell ghee, like a little tub of ghee.
Oh, nice.
And then they have like two different cheddars. They have like a sharp cheddar and like a smooth cheddar. But it's like grass fed.
Nice. Yeah.
Pretty good stuff. I can tolerate it.
Nice.
It's like, yeah. And I like the Kerrygold, the butter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I only use Kerrygold.
Yeah, I'm an Irish dairy consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's something about the in Ireland. There's something about the dairy air in Ireland.
Hilarious. Yeah, it's like
that I prefer to other locales.
I've told you before that, like, I could easily live in Ireland. Like, I absolutely adore the culture. I love the food, the whiskey, the beer, like, and like, obviously, like, a lot of people love all of that. But like, every time I talk about moving there, somebody's like, yeah, but it's always cold and rainy and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, the weather. It's like, that's the kind of weather I love.
Yeah.
So it's like, the only thing I don't like about Ireland is that I don't already live there.
Yeah. Kind of the same, but different. Like when I moved to Maui, people were like, are you sure you want to live there? It's like, aren't you going to get island fever? Like, I couldn't just live on an island, It's like, I got to be able to go places and whatever. And I thought about it. And it's like, well, like, it's been like years since I've left Sonoma County.
Right.
And it's roughly the same size, maybe a little bigger.
Yeah. Like, Maui's a huge island. Like, it's not like a little tiny,
It's not tiny. It's not Tom what's his face Castaway or anything, but
right. But then it's also like there's so many different like biomes there.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah,
But it's like you can go up on the mountain.
dry side, the wet side,
yeah.
You kind of pick your climate.
Yeah,
like,
you go up into the clouds.
For people where it's too tropical, like they'll just go up the volcano ways.
Yeah. Yeah, like when we were there, like we took a drive up and took a hike like partway up the volcano, and like it tripped me out that there was like there was kind of like a, I don't know, I'm not a botanist, but you know, it kind of had like more tropical, like banana palmy kind of leaves. Like there was one plant that like kept reminding me that I wasn't in Annandale. Like it had the red soil, like
yeah,
you know, like when you're like going up Spring Creek Trail and you're under the canopy and stuff, and like you know all the trunks of all the trees looked the same, like you know these big lanky bay trees that aren't like savanna, like gnarly bay trees, like big tall ones.
Yeah, but then there's like avocados and guavas and papayas and stuff.
Not as high up as we were, but it was just like that. Like I feel like this weird like homesick cognitive dissonance, but it's like this just looks like parts of Annandale, like it's so crazy. Yeah, and then you like go down to the beach and it's like beautiful sand, bits of coral, and there's like humpbacks splashing around.
Yeah,
it's like
I loved it over there. I wouldn't mind living over there again if I could afford to. But yeah, that's the first place I lived where I didn't have like this sense of restlessness. I just felt like grounded, and I felt like I don't want to be anywhere else but like where I am right now.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
like,
pretty nice.
I don't know. I'm kind of getting back to that feeling, like being here, but I don't know. This place has its drawbacks too.
Yeah, everywhere does. But yeah, like it was a little too humid for me. Like,
yeah, you get used to it. I kind of like the humidity. My skin felt better.
Yeah,
like all the prickles on the back of my arms and stuff went away that I had for like forever. You know, like little hair bumps or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, all that stuff just kind of went away. It's like, I don't know, I was still in my element there.
Because you were actually sweating instead of only sweating when you exercise?
Yeah, that, and I was like in the water like multiple times a day.
That's true.
The salt and stuff. Yeah. Getting lots of sun. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Ireland. And then we talked about Maui a little bit.
Oh yeah, this has been Culinary Corner and travel tips.
Travel time. I'm glad you brought that up because
the podcast.
My next pick is from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh.
This is Jamie Oldacre. And this is from Eric Clapton's album Slow Hand. And this song is The Core. Yeah, that one stretches out a little bit.
Yeah, it's not bad though. Yeah, it's like there's a lot going on musically, and the drums are like embedded so far down in the mix. It's kind of hard to like. I really had to like close my eyes and
listen to what the drummer's doing.
Yeah, focus. Yeah, he was doing cool stuff.
Yeah, I like all the the offbeat accents he's doing on the ride cymbal and stuff, like the
yeah, he's doing that, but then he also does like one of the things I love, like the that kind of blacksmith beat on the cymbal.
Uh-huh.
Where it's like it's a little louder and a little more forced, but like
it's pinging, putting that accent on it. Yeah.
A lot of the metal bands that I listen to do that when they're like the riddle of steel. They need to summon the riddle of steel. Ting, ting,
yeah, like
ting,
if you hit
ting.
if you hit the main part, the main body of the cymbal or the edge of the cymbal, it's a little more washy.
Mm-hmm.
But like at the top, there's a part called the bell,
right,
where the hole goes through. Yeah, and if you lay into that
a little bit,
yeah, if you lay into that because it's a little thicker. If you lay into that with like the shoulder of the stick instead of the tip of the stick, I guess that clang, clang. Yeah,
sounds like a hammer pounding on an anvil, pounding a piece of steel on an anvil.
Yeah. So he's kind of getting the wash on the ride, but then he's putting those offbeat accents onto the bell. Yeah, it's a cool beat.
Yeah.
But like his snare's really kind of rolling and has a nice pleasant tone to it. And tight kick patterns that kind of accent the groove of the song.
Yeah.
Make it sound kind of tight.
Oh yeah. Absolutely tight. Like when I said there was a lot going on musically, it wasn't like, oh, they're reaching out way over here, or they're doing this noodly thing over here. It's like, it's like really good Thanksgiving dinner, like classic. Like, here's the turkey, gravy's perfect, mashed potatoes, string beans are perfect. Like, everything's just super well done. Like,
this guy, he started out in Leon Russell's band, but then kind of through the 70s, he played on all Eric Clapton's solo albums, solo stuff. So, like this one's a little more kind of music-y, but he played on all his ballads and everything that are on Slow Hand here too.
Right.
Cocaine, his big hits and stuff. So he's just a really versatile drummer, but he just, he's like the level of professional where like Eric Clapton didn't have to worry about the rhythm section. It was like, it was handled.
Right.
Like whatever he came up with songwriting wise, it's like, the guy was there to do the job. And, I mean, he's done some other stuff too. So he's started out with Leon Russell, like just on an album or two, and then ended up playing with Eric Clapton for a long time, like during like his peak period during the 70s after he left Cream. And then he came back in the 90s, maybe. And there's a song he played in a band called the Tractors, which was a band out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So he kind of never really left Oklahoma, which is probably why he never ended up in like any other big groups or anything. Maybe, I mean, but he ended up playing in the Tractors in the 90s. And I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the Tractors. Like their big hit song was that Baby Likes to Boogie. Do you know that one?
Oh yeah.
Like a boogie woogie choo choo train.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a terrible song, but it's a good song too. It's like, I don't know. It's better than Boot Scoot Boogie, but it's like
yeah,
it's like
in
right in there.
Yeah, it's in the same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'd find that cassette like in the center console of like a IROC T-top Trans Am, and you'd have to like, go and do a NASCAR race or something and like drinking Bud Light or whatever, and you'd be like, oh, let's listen to some music. And well, there's a tape deck in here, and you look in the center console and you got to pick out a bunch of like gummy bears and lint and like green pennies and find that cassette and pop it in the cassette player.
Yeah. And most of the gummy bears are like hard, but then there's one of them that's not.
Yeah, you get a little confident because the first couple clumps you pull out are like all stuck together and pretty hard.
Yeah.
But then you find the soft one.
Yeah.
And like your hands are sticky the rest of the day.
Yep. The vampire gummy bear that sucking the moisture out of all the other ones.
Anyways, so that's Jamie Oldacre. He's a really good all-rounder. He can can play on a country song. He can play on a ballad. He can get a little muso. He's got the skills.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more from that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Underrated, overlooked and underrated.
Nice.
Now, this other guy, oh man, I just love him. He's in one of my favorite bands of all time. The band he's most famous for being in, and this is a play-along type of track, like your Nico feature.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is Mike Portnoy, and we'll just listen to this. This guy's bonkers.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so skilled. But we'll listen to this and we'll talk about him and what he's done.
Yeah,
nuts.
I'm glad you put him on the list because I'm not that big a fan of Dream Theater, but like any list of kick-ass drummers has to include that guy. Like,
his technical ability and just the power that he plays with, and his skill.
Yeah,
I was just
thinking
amazing
that like it kind of lends credence to my theory that percussion is like probably the oldest instrument behind vocals.
Yeah.
That like even though it's very proggy and the rest of the band is like noodling around, it's like he's still banging on stuff. Like it still sounds badass. So it's like, because he's a really good drummer, but then it's like, I don't think I could listen to a prog band with a crappy drummer.
Well, I don't think there's any such thing, really.
We'll see.
Well, yeah. So, he's most famous for being in Dream Theater.
Mm-hmm.
But then he kind of famously left. They did a hunt for new drummers. That's kind of interesting to see, like their audition stuff on YouTube. Yeah, they tried out a bunch of, just amazing drummers, like trying to find somebody to replace him.
Right.
Not an easy task.
I'll bet.
But he played in I love what he's done in Neil Morse band and some of the others like side projects he's done with Neil Morse.
Okay.
Like they just kind of hit it off, and they did like a Beatles tribute thing. They did Transatlantic which is like a super group. And the Neil Morse band though, I love that band. Like they like as far as concept album stuff, some of the things they've done have just been like epic. And they just like keep going with it. And like he's also like we talked about, like with the early drummers like Keith Moon, John Bonham, Mitch Mitchell, those guys all grew up listening to like Krupa and Rich. But like Mike Portnoy, he had, he came along at a time where he heard Neil Peart.
Right.
He heard Phil Collins. He heard Keith Moon.
Yeah.
He heard John Bonham.
Yeah, he's your age.
He listened to all the drummers from Iron Maiden. He listened to Alex Van Halen. And he's good enough that he can play like all those guys, really.
Right.
And he's played with Avenged Sevenfold. He's played in a bunch of bands just because he's like musically curious. He's done like tribute stuff with Paul Gilbert.
Oh, yeah.
They did like a Who tribute. They've done,
nice.
Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, we'll take a little side trip, but
yeah, that sounds cool.
And aside from the episode, yeah, they do a Young Man's Blues, and it's and he's in Winery Dogs, Sons of Apollo. I mean, he's just been in a bunch of like super groups. Basically, it's like he's the guy that gets tapped if he's musically curious and wants to do it. Like, why wouldn't you have Mike Portnoy?
Please come in.
Yeah, Winery Dogs, amazing band. Yeah, they did a tribute, Who tribute with Billy Sheehan, Mike Portnoy on drums, Paul Gilbert on guitar, and Gary Cherone. He sang with Van Halen for like one album, and he was in, was it Extreme?
Maybe.
Is he the singer for Extreme?
Man, that is a super group.
Then they did like a Zeppelin thing where he did the John Bonham parts. And they did, they just had like an Alex Van Halen tribute thing where they had one of his drum sets. It was for like a drum magazine. But they did playthrough of some Van Halen songs on Alex Van Halen's last tour drum set. They got it all tuned up and set up. And yeah, he just nails it note for note, like playing a bunch of the early Van Halen stuff, talking about how great Alex is, like as a tribute. But then Mike Portnoy does play-alongs. It's like, yeah, he can like play like any of the greats. He can like totally cop their style, and just like, yeah, he can like kind of do it all. I think he just kind of got bored playing Dream Theater. It's like, and it's pretty taxing to play that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like mentally taxing to remember all the parts and everything. Like, I won't name names or anything, but I had a prog period where like I just wanted to write and play the most difficult stuff. And this band that I was in at the time, the drummer ended up sleeping with a bass player's girlfriend.
Uh-oh.
And it was like this whole thing. But we stayed together. But I just started writing these songs like as a way to punish the drummer. It's like I wanted to like get all prog and, time signatures and play really fast and difficult changes and back and forth. But like, yeah, like after that happened, it just became kind of a way of like punishing the drummer. It's like, well, how hard a part can I write for this? And like, I'd kind of like show him, oh, well, this is what I want on the drums, but like, play it faster,
Oh, man.
And then just start off the song and just like, okay, this is the tempo. It's like, hope you can keep up.
Yikes.
But like at the same time, like during that period, it's like those songs are so difficult. I always felt like I was like studying for a test, I'd have like test anxiety.
Right.
Like you're prepping for the SATs or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I got to get this part. I got to make the transition. I can't miss it. Can't miss the beat because it's like, then yeah, like, yeah, it was just mentally taxing. So I could see why, like, yeah, you'd get old playing like Dream Theater stuff all the time, especially like a piece like that,
Right.
Where it's like constant time signature changes and tempo changes.
It's like, oh crap, we screwed up. Start over.
Okay, wait, what part comes next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
so anyways,
you've seen the interviews with Getty and Alex when they were trying to record La Via Strangiato because they wanted to like record it all live or like, you know,
yeah, just straight through one take.
Through. And like they're talking about it. It's like they look like, bring up Tolkien again. Butter spread over too much bread. Like, they look like they've been up for like 3 days.
Yeah,
they're like not ready to be in the sunshine and the English countryside.
Yeah, like it's
they're
one thing to like
out.
Yeah, it's like one thing to play something in the studio, and then it's like we got to take this on the road and play it in front of people,
right?
Yeah, but man, yeah, Portnoy's he's incredible.
Totally.
Yeah. And he had the benefit of having the influence of all the great rock drummers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my next two picks are both younger, so have had the same benefit. Cool. Plus, you know, growing up listening to Portnoy.
Yeah.
So it's like they're standing on top of the shoulders of giants that are standing on top of the shoulders of giants. Like,
yeah. Like maybe at the end of the episode or something, we can check out that Young Man Blues.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll get through the rest of it.
Okay.
Here. Oh, and then I want to add an honorable of David Garibaldi.
Oh yeah,
like to tack onto the playlist, maybe.
Sure.
But yeah, we'll do that at the end. But like, you put Moby Dick on here, and I kind of didn't want to, because to be a drummer, you know, you got to be able to play a groove too. You got to be able to play to the song.
Yeah, totally.
You can't just be a total like spaz soloist and stuff. But like,
yeah,
sometimes a spaz soloist is like amazing. So like, I could have played something else for this guy.
Oh yeah.
But I just wanted to like play a drum solo by Terry Bozzio when he was in Frank Zappa's band. Because he was just such a beast, such an animal back then.
Totally.
So yeah, this is Terry Bozzio's drum solo from Baby Snakes.
Dang.
Oh man.
That's like,
what a monster.
I don't know. I'm not that hungry, but for some reason my brain keeps going to food. Like, we have a restaurant nearby called Art's Place. Art Obleto was this totally rad Italian immigrant, and he was called the Pasta King of Sonoma County. If you've been to the Sonoma County Fair, chances are you've had the half and half spaghetti, marinara and pesto spaghetti. They always had a booth at the Sonoma County Fair. And
an institution.
Yeah. So he has a restaurant nearby that is phenomenal and just good American Italian or Italian American food. Just like white people soul food kind of stuff. And like it's one of the restaurants where you could close your eyes and just like point at the menu, and whatever your finger lands on like will be great. And like they do a pork chop, but it's like it has Italian seasoning, and it has like roasted vegetables and mashed potatoes, and it's just like it's so good. And it's like, oh, you went to an Italian restaurant, you got a pork chop? And it's like, come on, like the Italians do pork better than anybody else. Like, come on.
Oh, they do almost everything.
Yeah. And so if this is such a long, drawn-out metaphor, apologies. This is a very Prague metaphor. if Moby Dick is that entire plate of food, Terry Bozzio's drum solo is just the pork chop.
Yeah.
Like it's just the meat of Moby Dick. Like,
yeah. No cherry tomatoes or salad or anything. No garlic bread.
Oh yeah.
Just the pork chop.
Oh man. Yeah, okay, now I actually am hungry because the pork chop, you can get the like Italian house salad with the like red beans and thinly like little strips of salami.
Oh man. Now you're making me hungry.
Yeah. And the
okay. But back to Terry Bozzio.
The pepper and
so
cheese.
He's doing like he's he's doing patterns with his hands.
Yeah.
And then he repeats it with his feet.
Yeah.
And then he stands up and he's only playing the cymbals. And there's another guy that does an amazing drum solo, like one of the best I've ever seen, where he does some of that kind of stuff too, like kind of takes some cues maybe from Terry Bozzio. But equally as impressive a drummer, this other guy. He's later on the list. But and Baby Snakes, like I always listen to some Zappa, but sometimes it was like just a little too zany for me.
Yeah.
I love his guitar solos, man.
Yeah.
But like
I loved him when I was a teenager. But yeah, it's like sometimes
I think
it's a
I
little
had
too
some
cornball.
Yeah, I had some of his stuff on reel to reel, like back when we were teenagers, and all that zany stuff with all the xylophone and everything, or marimba or whatever. But but so after this, so Baby Snakes, like my son loved the song Baby Snakes, like when he was a little kid. It was always like, Dad, play Baby Snakes. It's like he's a little kid. He's a little boy. Baby Snakes is like the best song ever to him.
Right.
Just because it's about baby snakes.
Yeah.
Like,
who doesn't
Dad, play Baby Snakes?
What little kid doesn't like Baby Snakes?
Yeah. So I kind of went through like a Zappa like revival, I guess, because my son was always like, hey, Dad, can you play Baby Snakes?
Nice.
Put it on the big speakers. It's like, yeah. Well, now I got to listen to the rest of the songs. It's
nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, my son loved Baby Snakes. But like Terry Bozzio's cool because, I mean, because he's done a bunch of stuff.
Oh,
and like kind of right after this was like Missing Persons.
Missing Persons. Yeah.
Totally different. I mean, talk about switching gears. Yeah. But it like equally cool and like inventive and groundbreaking, cutting edge.
Totally.
And great for what that band called for.
So speaking of Missing Persons and Sonoma County, Terry Bozzio was married to Dale Bozzio. But were either of them
Missing Persons?
Yeah. Were either of them related to Jim Bozzio?
Jim Bozzio? Maybe. I don't know. Could be.
Speaking of Sonoma County legends.
Yeah, man. But yeah, what a drummer. Have you ever seen the ones where he sings?
Yeah.
So nutty.
Totally.
Yeah, what an animal.
Yeah.
And the stuff he does now, like he has a drum set that like makes Neil Peart's drum set look like a little dinky thing. It's just like, I mean, like hundreds of drums, like multiple bass drums, like a half dozen different bass drums.
Oh, man.
Like just, it's so insane. And it's just him playing. And he plays like this really tribal stuff. He's just kind of like how Mike Portnoy is just a drummer's drummer.
Right.
And he just wants to explore the drums. That's how Terry Bozzio was too. It's like, I don't need a band. I just want to play drums.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
One of the greats. He could play anything, but he marches to the beat of his own drum, and he can provide his own drum soundtrack for that.
Right.
Okay.
So my next pick, I put him following Terry Bozzio because I'm a huge fan of this band. Been listening to him for years. And I think this guy's only been on a couple of their albums. Yeah, they have 12 albums. And this guy's only been on 2 of them, I think. Yeah, their original drummer left during COVID, and they got this other guy shortly thereafter. And, Iron Maiden or Rush or AC/DC, where you're like, okay, is this going to be the same band? Are they still going to be like as great as they were before? They've got this young guy playing drums for him. Like, what are they going to be like? And it was like, oh yeah, no, they'll be fine. So this is a Finnish name, so I'm going to get a running start. Samuli Mikkonen playing with Korpiklani, and this is Saunan.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not very prog.
Nope. Maybe that's why I like it so
that
much.
guy's great.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
Has he been in other bands?
Yeah, he was in one other band, I think. But yeah, it's like they do a lot of like folk metal, like polka beat kind of stuff. Like I really like them. And like their previous drummer was totally phenomenal. Yeah, he was in a band called Profane Omen. Finnish groove metal band.
Yeah, he's great. Like some guys, you see him playing those fast beats, like those fast metal beats, and it looks like they're in pain.
Yeah.
But like he's just totally having fun and just feeling the music and just...
Yeah, and it's like he's playing, it's like a polka beat, so it's already kind of fast, and then it's just like his fills are just like blink and you miss them, and then yeah, he has that like Terry Bozzio like animal energy, like he's just so fast and
like
so active.
A lot of metal stuff, like the drums are just so tight and like consistent sounding. Like a lot of stuff does get samples added to it in the studio,
right?
But like to be able to play that straight through like that and like have it sounds just so clean and amazing.
Yeah, he's the lefty too.
Oh yeah.
I guess he's got a custom Pearl drum kit.
Yeah, must be sponsored by them
because he's a southpaw.
Well, it's just they just set him up different. You can use regular drum kits. They're not different. They're just you just put them together backwards.
Yeah, well, they have his configuration listed on the Pearl drum set website.
Nice.
So
if you want to sound like him, you can get the same stuff.
The same stuff. Go back in time to when you were 9 years old. Yell at your 9-year-old self. You can't go sledding until you do your drum lessons.
Feed the reindeer and then play your paradiddles. Yeah, solid. Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's interesting. Like
then you can race cheap cars with your friends.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I mean, like
about
COVID
Finnish summer racing, right?
Well, yeah, they're all like the best rally drivers in the world.
Well, yeah, but it's like regular people, like secretaries, like have like summer racing clubs, like secretaries and old people and like high school students, like have I forget exactly there's like a budget but the budget is enforced by, at least it's not a food related tangent. I guess there's like a price or something. If somebody wants
that's common in a lot of racing leagues.
Yeah, if somebody wants to buy your car for a certain price, you have to sell it to them. So it disincentivizes like buying a bunch of like aftermarket
from cheating or having special unobtainium parts.
Right.
Yeah, that's common in a lot of like track type racing things, like roundy round stuff. Like that's like, well, you can have your engine however you want, but somebody else can buy it from you for whatever the price is.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, these Finnish racing leagues are just like, the old guy from up the street and like the cashier from the bank and the single mom. It's the checker at the grocery store.
Yeah, I wish they did stuff like that here. Like, I have a car I'm working on, and like California's so restrictive in what you can do. It's like, man, if I could just do whatever I wanted, or just make this a race car, like, could do so much cooler stuff with it. But it's like, you want to insure it and have it on the road and pass smog. It's like, good luck.
Oh man, there's like a used car dealership. It's like in between a used car dealership and Pick and Pull, out on the highway, going out to Sebastopol. And years and years ago, they had a whole bunch of those old parking meter monitor. Like when they switched to the digital parking meters, they got rid of all those little meter cars.
Oh yeah.
They might have even been
3-wheeler things.
Yeah, they might have been 3-wheelers. But yeah, they had like that really like angled like front windscreen.
Yeah.
And they had like, I think I was finally stuck in traffic there, and I counted, they had 9 of them.
Huh.
And I was like,
they should start a racing league.
Yeah, it would be so rad to just buy all of those and like start a racing league with these.
Oh man, that would be cool.
Crappy little parking meter monitor mobiles.
Well, we learned some Dutch Low Saxon in one of our episodes.
Yeah.
In this episode, we're going to learn a little bit of bol, B-O-L.
Oh, okay.
So, ta, na, tin, ti, ta, tu, ni, da, thun, di, din, tira, tur, tot, ga, ga, gi, ge, ge, ga, gi, ka, ki, ke, cat. In Indian classical music, the tablas, they like have their own language.
Whoa.
And so like the tabla players can speak to each other, or they can talk about like the drum patterns. And I mean, it's kind of like beatbox, but it's not just like making the sounds. Like some of them mean left hand, some of them mean right hand.
Oh,
some of them are like the actual sounds that the drum is making. You know, like if it's like a sharp note, or if it's rings out, or if it's like if you clamp down. Yeah, so like you can speak this language of the tablas called bol to like convey a rhythm part. And
interesting.
Yeah. So like this next drummer, he's amazing.
Are the words kind of like autonomopeic, where they like kind of sound like the sounds there?
Yeah, like ta tin ti, like, you know, you could play a beat like that, you know, like ta, like you're either hitting it with your palm or just your finger, or like your fingers right on the rim to get a sharp sound, or
interesting.
You're letting it ring out, or you're dampening it with your hand again. Like, Yeah, and then there's the deep sounds and the high sounds. So there's, different sounds for left and right hand.
Right.
Yeah. So, this next drummer, he's not an Indian classical drummer, but he speaks the language of drums.
Okay.
And he's amazing. We'll talk a little bit more about him, but I just wanted to share this because it's just so cool. So
yeah, I never knew about this.
It's a girl from India who plays bass. She's an amazing bass player, but the drummer is Marco Miniman. And I could be totally off. This might not be bowl, but I know they have bowl for the tabla. So this says conical games. So maybe conical is like another Indian classical music rhythmic language. I'll look at that while we're listening to it. But anyways, check this out. Yeah, this is Mohini Day on bass and Marco Miniman on drums.
That was super fun.
Yeah. Anyways, they're just showing off.
I mean, they're showing off, but it's like it reminded me of, remember when we used to mountain bike and play Follow the Leader?
Yeah.
It was like that, but the musical equivalent.
Yeah, but I mean, man, what phenomenal players.
Totally.
So this is straight out of Wikipedia. So conical is the art of performing percussion syllables vocally in South Indian Carnatic music.
Okay.
So it's the comparable to bowl. So bowl is from Hindustani music.
Okay.
And this is from South Indian Carnatic music. Kind of the same. But conical has another component called solkatu. So it's conical symbols spoken while simultaneously counting the meter in the hand.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a way of communicating percussion.
Right. That's
verbally.
super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew about that.
In America, we would call it beatboxing.
I guess. All right. Yeah.
Should I keep going? Are you going to rap?
No.
Okay. But anyways, yeah, I saw that. Like they're playing at Sweetwater Sound, and it's just like a demo day thing or something. But that came up in my feed when it came out, and I was like, wow.
Right.
But yeah, Marco Miniman, he plays in the Aristocrats.
Okay.
I got to say that right. Not from the Disney movie, The Aristocats, but from the band The Aristocrats with Guthrie Govan on guitar.
Like the joke, not like the
insane.
Cartoon movie from the 80s.
Right.
But like the joke.
Sure. But
we had the Prague warning. We come from a family of drummers disclaimer, and now we have the explicit rating.
Oh man.
Okay, sorry. Carry on.
Yeah, when I was talking about drum solos earlier, like the Marco Miniman drum solo from, I think they're in Japan, maybe. I'm not sure, but it's from one of the Aristocrats tours. Just such a piece of work. Yeah, just incredible.
Nice.
So, I mean, you can tell from there that he's a pretty good drummer.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah, it's like they were showing off so much that it was hard. Like, even though it's just bass and drums, it was kind of hard to not to get distracted. Like, the stuff she was doing was incredible too. Like,
oh yeah,
like the stuff she was doing with their palm, like up on the
yeah, like kind
strings.
of blending it in with some of that like Indian style music.
Yeah, it was like,
it's like,
holy moly!
Yeah,
Like, oh right,
just to like,
I'm supposed to be listening to the drums. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, we were talking about Girish and the Chronicles. It's like,
Oh yeah,
there's kids in India that grew up listening to classical Indian music, but then they also like grew up listening to Primus or whatever,
right.
It's like, so yeah.
Yeah, it's like
It's just wonderful, all this stuff that's happening with new music. As much as I love the old classic stuff, like, I don't know, there's exciting things happening in music.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, they grew up listening to like a lot of the stuff we heard, and then they also grew up listening to a bunch of stuff we never heard.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, you got the next pick?
Yeah, I got. So, pretty proggy drummer from a pretty proggy band, but definitely from the Rush branch of prog.
Uh,
I like my prog to have a little bit of heft to it, have a little bit of hair on it. So this guy's pretty much a modern legend in music today. This is Bran Daler with Mastodon playing Capillary Crest.
Oh man. It's a great pick.
Right.
Man, yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Mastodon is so nuts.
Completely. But it's like, like there's, I don't know, like I'm kind of speechless a little bit. But it's like they're like a modern Rush, like they have all the heaviness, all the progginess, and then like, interesting lyrics.
Yeah, but they're more kind of. Rush was basing their music on like, I don't know, stuff that came before it, and like classical kind of stuff, and like, they're composing stuff, but like Mastodon is just coming up with insane riffs and stringing them all together, and like, they have the thematic stuff of the progginess, but like it's so intricate.
Yeah.
It's like it's even more like technically difficult than the Rush stuff, because the Rush stuff, like your brain can understand what's going on.
Right.
Like if you think about Mastodon, like, oh well, what are they playing? It's like, no, it's like your brain can't handle it. It's like just like turn your brain off and just listen to it and enjoy it for what's happening. Because like if you try and like dissect it and like understand it, it's like, and you can like eating an elephant or like eating a mastodon,
nice.
You can break it down into bite-sized pieces,
right?
But like you can't eat a mastodon in one bite.
Right. Yeah, and it's like there were little parts, like there was a part like about a minute in where again we're trying to focus on the drums, but like the bass part was really cool. Where it's like it was a total Geddy Lee bass line. Like just 15 seconds. This little chunk.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like as a whole, it's just like, holy crap.
Well, and kind of like what I was talking about with Portnoy, it's like I mean, Mastodon is moving so fast and it's so intricate and it's so crazy and wild. Like, if you screw up, it's like that's it.
Yeah.
It's like there's no like, oh, okay, let me jump back, get back in here. It's like you're either like nailing it or you're like flailing.
Right. Nailing or flailing.
Yeah.
Nice.
And nobody else sounds like them.
No, not really.
I'm sure there's bands now that are like, oh, I love Mastodon. I want to be in like a Mastodon sounding band.
Right.
But like they're just so original. They just came out of, they came out of the South, but they came out of nowhere.
Well, they came out of a High on Fire basement
concert.
show.
Oh, High on Fire concert. Yeah. Yeah, but like, they're amazing.
Yeah.
And they're heavy.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. So
I think if I listened to more Mastodon, I would become a higher functioning individual. If my brain just got used to like having that going on.
Well, you already have a shaved head. Like your cranium might swell and have like veins that pulsate, kind of glow and pulsate on the sides. So be careful. Don't listen.
Capillarian. Yeah, I don't want a capillarian crest.
No.
Yeah.
Although
wearing the headphones and like it's like little blue flashes of like pulsing with the music.
It does get pretty warm up there. It would help with thermoregulation.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of a capillarian crest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
like Dimetrodon.
Mastodon might be some of the first music I download after I get Neuralink.
Fair.
No. Not going to happen.
I
can download them now.
Neuralink and Starlink. So you don't even have to.
Yeah.
It's going to beam straight from outer space.
Oh, man. Yeah. Like even your brain could understand that. Your body couldn't do that.
No. Well,
even you were like, oh, yeah, I know what they're doing there. It's like, okay, now get your arms and your feet to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what did Neil Peart say was one of his secrets was that he was like actually really uncoordinated. So it helped him be all over the place. Well, thankfully, like a true master, Bran has provided us with some insight and has shared his training regime with us. Bran Daler's training regimen.
Oh, man.
There you go. It's a secret.
Ew, it's intense music. It makes sense.
You got to stay intense.
Yep. Eggs and beer.
Mm-hmm. Got to drink eggs.
Breakfast to champion.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister-in-law, Molly, introduced me to a phrase that I'd never heard before. Apparently it's a Midwest, like you're going to an all-day boozing event. So it's eggs and kegs.
Eggs, then kegs.
Yep. You're going to have breakfast, and then you're going to tie one on. Shout out to the Southside Chicago St. Patrick's Day Parade. Eggs and kegs.
Nice. Yeah, that was actually when I in my younger days, before my 25th birthday, when it all came to an end. That was one of my hangover cures was top ramen with eggs.
Oh, nice.
just to get all that sodium back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I wasn't down for menudo.
Well,
my wife eats menudo.
Oh, that's
like, it's like her comfort food kind of thing, you know? Like,
yeah.
every once in a while, she's got to. Yeah.
That organ smell, that cooked organ smell.
Yeah, no thanks.
Ugh.
And all the rest of it sounds pretty good.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like a pozole, but instead of having like pork shoulder or something, you have other parts of the pig or the cow.
Yeah, I remember some of my coworkers. There was a place in Sebastopol that would do menudo on Friday, and and so one of my coworkers would go pick it up and bring some back, and so like Marty and Lewis would always be like, "Do you want some?" Like next time we get some, do you want some?
Oh man,
I'm good, thanks. And like,
maybe I should try it sometime. Maybe it's one of those things where it's like better if you're eating it than smelling it. I
don't know.
Well, but there's that there's a texture element there that's like more of the Hebes. So like the texture plus the smell.
Yeah, you might be better at it than I am. It's like I'm pretty squeamish, and like you're okay with lingua. Like
yeah.
Like lingua, it has a funky texture. It has like a weird sponginess.
Yeah,
really kind of oogs me out. But yeah, I just remember like this was like full on like abuela style menudo. Like it had like, if you were lucky, it had one of the hooves in it. And like I remember Marty using like one of the hooves, like a spoon in one hand and the hoof in the other. So she would like just scoop out the stuff with the spoon and use the hoof.
Slurp the hoof.
Yeah, use the hoof to like scoop the broth. Like, you know, when you get like
a little shot glass.
Or like, you know, when you like with pho or like ramen, sometimes you get that weird ceramic spoon thing. Like you have the chopsticks and the weird
ceramic spoon.
Ceramic spoon. Like that.
Yeah, man.
Like, that's a hoof.
Yeah, we have some of those, but I've never thought about eating like, what do they call it? My father-in-law used to call it something when he'd make his big stews and stuff. Can't remember now. But yeah. Oh man, it's getting into soup weather.
Oh man, yeah, I've had soup a couple times already. Did you want to announce this, or was this a honorable?
Yeah, well, I'll do my honorable mention. Did you have any honorable mentions?
We named them all. Ginger Baker, Gene Krupa, everybody we already mentioned.
So for my honorable mentions, I have From the Less is More, but like driving the bus for the band.
Right.
Is Phil Rudd. AC/DC was never like, you know, Brian came in for Bon. You can't really replace Malcolm, but his nephew did okay. But like when they had other drummers besides Phil Rudd, they weren't quite the same band.
Right.
And it sounds like simple beats that he's playing. But if you like try and play along with him, like there's some finesse to it.
Right.
Even though it sounds simple. Let's see. Phil Collins, amazing drummer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. The only reason I didn't put Phil Collins and some early Genesis on here is because I knew that would be too much prog. And same with these other guys, Nick DiVirgilio from Spock's Beard, Big Train. After Spock's Beard, he played in Cirque du Soleil as their drummer.
Right.
Or the drummer with Cirque du Soleil. Amazing drummer, good singer. Yeah, I love his drumming and just a really cool dude. Gavin Harrison from Porcupine Tree and Pineapple Thief. And he also played for a stint in King Crimson. Just because he's just such a good drummer, he could just hop into King Crimson and play all the Buford stuff and all the classics.
Right.
Yeah. And then this last honorable mention is David Garibaldi, because there's technically proficient drummers, there's heavy drummers, there's rock drummers, there's funk drummers too. To have a groove and to be tight with the band, it's a whole different discipline of drumming. But drums just has such a universal language.
Right.
This is David Garibaldi with Tower of Power playing Soul Vaccination. Yeah, some funky drum in there.
Yeah, totally.
Oh man, those guys are so good.
Right.
Okay. We only got 2 spots. Oh, that's inspired, as far as I recall, that's inspired by the King Kong beat.
Okay. So I don't have a clear definition of what the King Kong beat is.
Okay, man. So we got Bonham, we got Pert.
Yep.
So we only got 2 spaces.
2 spaces and the
Crazy
Horse.
I'm gonna put this out there. I think Bran Naylor's got to be our Crazy Horse.
Okay. Good with that.
Let's see. Who else do we got? Yeah, it's gonna be tough filling those other 2 spaces.
Yeah, I mean, some.
Go ahead.
Serious legends, like.
Yeah.
Half of this list is like easy pick.
I mean, Keith Moon would be fun to have for the Crazy Horse.
Right.
But he's a legend, and he's like one of a kind.
Yep.
I kind of want to see him up there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like,
yeah, but I mean, Bran is so good. He's so fierce.
Yeah.
So you think? So what do you think, Keith Moon? Put him up there with Bonham and Pert.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to.
It's hard not to. And then there's one more space. Maybe Carmine?
Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted Carmine as our Crazy Horse, just because he's been doing it for so long, and he's done all kinds of stuff. And
I mean, another way to look at it is, I mean, those are like past presidents,
right,
that are up there. They don't put the current president up on there.
True.
Well, for a lot of reasons. But, it's like you got to be kind of a legend to get up there.
Right.
Or part of the mythos, legendary. Those guys are all legendary.
Right.
But, it's like Portnoy's amazing. And he'll be up there someday. And he's got all the awards, all the accolades. he's so accomplished, but he's still doing his thing.
Right. Yeah, his legend is still being written.
He's like the current president.
Right.
Yeah, his story's still being written. So one day he'll be up there with those guys and deserves to be.
But then that pegs it as, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's just one way of looking at it,
Yeah, because I'm tempted to do that, but then it's then that weights it too much to drummers that have passed on. So it's okay, well, I mean,
Carmine's still alive.
Yeah, I know. So it's and same with Nico,
oh yeah, Nico.
And Bill Ward, they're still alive.
Oh, yeah.
Technically their legends are still being written too.
Oh man, Nico.
Yeah, it's you just want to see his face carved in stone.
Oh, absolutely.
He has a face for being carved in stone.
Okay, let's put Nico up there. Nico, Pert, Bonham. Who's going to be the crazy horse? Who's going to be up there? Is Moon up there? Or is Moon the crazy horse? Back to the crazy horse again.
I think
we got to say, sorry, Bran.
I mean, it's a little on the nose to have Keith Moon as the crazy horse. He
little on the nose.
He deserves to be on the front. I think it's Keith Moon, John Bonham, Neil Peart, Nico McBrain, and then Taylor.
Carmine is the crazy horse.
Yeah. Sorry, Bran. Carmine.
Yeah,
that's the crazy horse.
Yeah, with that Fu Manchu and just you can just make him beautiful. Like a Greek god carved in stone. Yeah.
And at certain times of day, you'd be like, dude, is that Tom Savini?
Okay.
Is that the guy who did all the special effects for Day of the Dead? Dawn of the Dead?
Yeah.
Legendary makeup artist.
All the Fangoria subscribers be like, wow, they made a monument.
Yep.
Okay. So that's our list. Nico, Neil, Keith, John,
Carmine.
Just
Carmine on the back.
On the back.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm good with that too.
Because, I mean, also, they were never in the same weight class, but the older Bill Ward got, or the older Bill Ward gets, and the older Neil Peart got, the more they kind of looked the same too.
Oh man,
they both have the same nose.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good list.
I think so.
Yeah, man, there's some amazing drummers out there.
Oh man, yeah.
What a cool instrument. What a cool thing to like drumming is one of those things where you're always working on it. You're always refining it. You never, every drummer wants to improve,
Right.
Well, the ones I've known, as amazing as they are, now, there's always something that they're working on to get better.
Right. Yeah, and it's kind of I don't know. This is a half-baked metaphor, but like a half-timber building where you can see the framework. They're creating the song structure that everything else is built on and hanging from. And it's a really awesome wood framed, timber framed, half timber house where you can see the framing, might have exposed rafter or exposed beams inside, or
it has joinery and
or you can it's a old school,
see the bones.
Yeah, old school European half timber Tudor style house, with the exposed framing, and so it's you can see, it's a whole thing, but a really good drummer, you can see how everything fits together and all the other parts lock into the craftsmanship.
Yeah, drumming is a craft.
Yeah, and especially really good drumming, where it's just wow, holy crap. This isn't just a bunch of 2x4s slapped 18 inches apart.
And it's such a physical thing, too. It's such a physical thing. Out of all the instruments to play, drumming is the most physical.
Right. Yeah, that's why the guy's often, in a t-shirt and shorts, or a Speedo if you're Terry.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, the drummer from Primus just stepped down because he just can't do it anymore. He's just too many aches and pains and too physical. I'll bet. Yeah. Wishing him luck and good times in the next chapter of his adventure.
Totally. All righty. So next week we're gonna slap at a bass.
The Thunder Down Under.
Huh? So next week we're gonna cover bass players, legendary bass players.
Yep.
Nice. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah. There may be more prog. Just get ready.
Probably gonna be
warning.
Probably gonna be some folk metal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's gonna be some funky bass players. There's gonna be some rockin' bass players. And we'll have a good handful of honorable mentions and whatnot.
Yep. All righty.
All right. I'm going to go make some soup.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us on this adventure. Okay. Bye.
See ya.
Checking out music with my bro. Willing to dig it, yes or no. Here we go on with the show. The Podcast.
Oh, man. That's nuts.
The slow-mo. Slow-mo runaway.
I love all those little Bob the Builders,
yeah.
Days without accident, 0. Oh.
So good. Yeah, it's those guys have had so many legendary videos. It's that one.
Oh, man.
The Muppets going berserk. So good.